hour-long races from the Thursday through to Saturday morning. Now, the format has changed majorly because we have a 3-hour race. This is for the first time ever. It's Johnny Palmer and Peter Mackay in the commentary box, and still only 2 drivers. So quite a bit more driving, and to reflect that, we've actually got an increased amount of championship points riding on it as well. So rather than 25 points for a race win, and actually for the shorter races that we've had in the past, it used to be half points. So there's a full swing now to 38 points if you win this across 3 different categories, PMAC. So we've got LMP3 and LMP3 Pro-Am, a little bit like the main race where we've got P2 and P2 Pro-Am. And then these are GT3 cars rather than the very expensive LM GT3s. But I've got to say, the take-up is pretty good because we should have 58 cars on this grid for the first ever 3-hour race.
It's remarkable, isn't it? I mean, nearly 40 LMP3 cars.
1 minute board.
Drivers all be on board and ready to go. And it's called the Road to Le Mans, and for good reason. The drivers that have won this very race in the past, it's been going since 2016, this fixture, if you like. Drivers like Ahmad Al-Harti, who'll be in the 94th edition of the 24 Hours of Le Mans tomorrow. Also, Julian Andlauer, Tom Dillman, again, Lorcan Hannafin, etc. Plenty of drivers who have made their way all the way through to the big show.
Now, we've not only got PMAC and I in the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre, but advised and educated by Driver Database and DriverDB.com. Neil Cole, but first of all, Joe Bradley.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. The fever's already beginning to build here. We're a day early, aren't we? Came out here to the field of cars that have been gridded up in true Le Mans fashion, with the back end of the car into the wall in echelon fashion. Just being waved off now, the green flag grid being waved off for a full formation lap. But we've had all of the presentations and the national anthem, and it's generated quite an atmosphere here for such an early start. But we discussed this in the preview, didn't we, Johnny? I'm a big fan of this new 3-hour proper endurance race idea.
It certainly is a proper endurance idea, and it also means that there's plenty of mileage going to have to be done, not only on the racetrack, but also with these 3 pit stops that must be done. And unlike in the main race where you do a pit stop the quickest time possible, these are timed stops, 175 seconds or 2 minutes and 55 seconds, 2:55, so just shy of 3 minutes, and every car's got to pit 3 times. Now, you shouldn't have to do that for fuel because an LMP3 with these modern Toyota-based engines, the V6 twin turbocharged power plants, are not as thirsty as the former Nissan V8s that we used to have. In fact, we went up to a 5.6 litre V8 in the end of the last LMP3 iteration, and they were very thirsty on fuel in that there was no guarantees that they could actually make an hour of racing. So you should be able to do this PMAC on 2 stops, but 3 is the mandated number. That's awkward. So in fact, is the minimum drive time, which is 75 minutes. And when you've got a bronze and either bronze, silver or gold combination in P3, Pro-Am at least, and GT3, you're actually wanting to get your gold out, sorry, your bronze out, maybe after the first hour. But you can't do that because the bronze has got to do an hour and a quarter.
There's a lot of different permutations in there, isn't there, of how to play the strategy. And that is already a complex equation if we don't have any safety cars. If we do have a safety car, it makes the equation even more complicated. Yeah. And a lot of the team names, we'll recognise from, Forestry Racing by VPS, Forestry Racing on pole in the LMP2 category, CLX Motorsports, Rinaldi Racing, High Class, Virage, CLX, Nielsen, etc. Inter-Europol competition. There's a lot of quality in this field. Then you go into the GT field, and you've got, all the big manufacturers' cars are in there, and teams like Kessel, etc., who know how to run a good car as well. So it's you're really looking into the future of Le Mans stars, people who are. It's called the Road to Le Mans for a reason, and everyone wanting to make their way through to eventually, hopefully, be in the big show in the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
You're right that there's a lot of familiar names from the main race, but there are also a lot of familiar names from European single-seater racing. So Campos, for instance, who took pole position with their team known as Brutal Fish by Campos, the Spanish outfit. Artur Rodgen did the pole position time in LMP3. By the way, the difference between LMP3 and LMP3 Pro-Am is that the Pro-Am duos, there must be a bronze paired up with either another bronze or a silver or a gold. You're not allowed any platinums in any of these cars, by the way.
The gaps, please.
When Boursier, the race director, is making sure that the gaps are closed, even at this stage. We're still on the Mulsanne straight at this stage, but the 2x2 formation for a 58-car grid will be forming up coming out of Porsche Curve. So let's just give you the front runners and the starting drivers for LMP3 initially. So Artur Rodgen, there was no restriction on which driver did the qualifying, which was interesting for me because normally in a kind of bread and butter round of the Le Mans Cup, qualifying in Pro-Am and in GT3 has to be done by the bronze, but that wasn't the case for this race meeting. Artur Rodgen, who set the time of 3:48.898, will be starting the number 12 car from pole position in LMP3 for Brutal Fish by Campos. Then the 23 events racing car, which was a time from Matteo Segre, and it in fact will be his teammate Isaac Barashi to start the number 5 23 events racing car. The second row, championship leaders, 85 R-Race GP. Enzo Peugeot did a 3:50.3, but his teammate Daniel Frost will be doing the opening stint in the best placed Duqueine, because there are two different chassis on show here in LMP3 and LMP3 Pro-Am. So you can either be in a Ligier JS P325 with the Toyota engine, or a Duqueine D08, and it's Ligier, Duqueine, and then 3 more Ligiers on the grid. The sister car at Brutal Fish by Campos is Matus Riba to start, but it was his teammate Lucas Fluxer. So part of the Fluxer family dynasty. Lots of Fluxers racing right now, including Lorenzo. 29 Forestier racing by VPS is Rui Mayhouse, who did the time, but Luciano Morano will start that car from 5th place ahead of the 23 events crew, the other winners so far this year. Colin Queen was actually a guest of ours at Radio Le Mans in the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre a couple of days ago, and the 50 car will be started by Colin himself. LMP3, I think this is still further instructions from Gwen Boursier to say condense the gaps, make sure that the gaps aren't any more than about 5 car lengths. LMP3 Pro-Am led at the moment then by DKR Engineering after their pole position yesterday after an hour-long session, and Quinton Antonell set the time there. He was right up in amongst those fast times, but remember, regardless of your time in qualifying, they're then grouped as per category. So all the LMP3s start at the front in a batch of 25. Then there are a further 14 LMP3 Pro-Ams, and the GT3s come after that. But Quinton Antonell in the number 3 car was very fast. It'll be his bronze teammate Antti Ramo, though, to start in car number 3, in front of Eric de Doncker for Motorsport 98 in the 98 car. Then Jacek Zielonka for Breton Racing, number 62, and Stefan Aust in the 71 LMP3 Pro-Am car for Rinaldi Racing. And GT3, it was a great time from the non-bronze driver of Jean-Baptiste Simonauer for Racing Spirit of Le Mans, and car 24 will therefore start at the front, for 77 SMC Motorsport rather, in their McLaren. So 77 will start from pole alongside the 17 Kessel Racing car for Lorenzo Innocenti. But we have a huge collection of GT3 cars as well that after a certain point of this 3-hour race will start to be caught by the LMP3s. Traffic's going to be a big deal, but not for the first few laps. It's fair to say this race has a history of a little bit of carnage on the first lap or so. Will the distance altering change that? Because 3 hours are on the clock, and for the first time ever, live on 91.2 FM Radio Le Mans for 2026, we're going to have a 3-hour race in the Road to Le Mans. The green flag flies, and an immediate jump there from the Nielsen car of Gaël Julien in the number 7. I sincerely hope that he didn't go too early. Meanwhile, the Felbermeyer livery car has a big rear right tyre issue. Is that Felbermeyer? Just trying to work it out as the 3 abreast go through the Dunlop chicane, and underneath the Goodyear Bridge. We're not on that tyre manufacturer though. This is the Michelin Le Mans Cup and the Road to Le Mans. And there is plenty of damage already, although a lead change because Isaac Barashi in the number 5 car is absolutely level pegging with a blistering getaway for Daniel Frost. However, is that the actual race leader? No, it's not. Artur Rodgen leads the race. He's way in front, and it is unfortunately carnage at the Dunlop chicane because 3 or 4 GT3s have all been involved in their own incident, PMAC.
And the Moore Motorsport number 99, the Dutch car, they're in big trouble as well. I think it's the Forrester Racing by VPS number 29 car that's got that rubbing Michelin on the bodywork straight away. Even before the line, it seemed like it was happening, which is very unusual indeed. So there must have been contact early on, but the number 85 leads the way then. That's the Race GP car of Daniel Frost. There's all contact, and then there are 2 cars off into the gravel at the first chicane. Also problems for the number 68 M Racing car, Hayden Chance and Narazeno Lopez Cesarato. We thought with this many cars it was going to be chaotic, and it's proved to be so.
There's a Team Virage car in the gravel at the Dunlop chicane. That was the number 70, and the 51 Ferrari is struggling for a forward gear as well. So
they are totally right at MP2, and use the runoff at MP3.
So that is MP2, Marshall Post 2, being the right-hand arcing Dunlop curve into the Dunlop chicane. So there's a car stranded there, and I do think it's Lorenzo Innocenti.
3, 2,
and
1. Slow zone 1 is active.
So slow zone 1, which begins at the acceleration point coming out of the Ford chicane and goes all the way to the top of the hill. Meanwhile, you can continue to race. We're not really seeing Artur Rodgen a great deal if you've managed to find live pictures somewhere, because he is up the road and gone coming out of Mulsanne corner. Everybody else duking it out for the lesser positions, and somebody goes wide coming out of Mulsanne corner as well. Is going to be delayed going through the gravel. Actually did a good job to continue the momentum there. So Daniel Frost leads that second battle for second place ahead of Colin Queen, who's made ground in the number 50 23 Events racing car. Mattis Rebar for Brutal Fish by Campus, the sister car to Artur Rodgen, race leader. He's 4th, and then Isaac Barashi, who started on the front row, has gone down to 5th in car number 5.
And just right before we went to the rolling start, Stella Motorsports number 42 car came straight into the pits. It is back moving again, just coming through the Daytona chicane, the first of the 2 chicanes on the Mulsanne. It's, oh no, a spin from near the front of the field. It's the 23 Events number 5 car, Isaac Barashi and Matteo Francosega. That is coming out of Arnage. Strange place to lose it through there.
Yeah, a bit too much right foot, I think, or maybe too much curb on the inside line. We didn't have a great view of it, but Isaac Barashi spinning from 5th position, and he's going to lose a whole load of places now on the lead lap. Just about the worst time you can spin a car, where they're all still very close to one another. CLX Motorsport, maybe number 87 with damage to the rear left corner as well. So 97 Cedric Ultramar came through the latest split in 15th spot, but yes, it's the 87 car of Philip Saga, maybe not Philip Saga, Arnold Robin maybe, but we'll check on that in just a tick. So, right over the curb at the Ford chicane is a car in the top 6. It's, though, amazingly weathered the storm.
And Sport at 15.
Geronimo Gomez for Vector Sport, straight into a slow zone, remember, as well. So he had to be mindful of that. Couldn't take an advantage by straight lining the Ford chicane either. My word, this opening lap has had pretty much everything, and I'm waiting to see whether we get any pit stoppers, because that might not be a bad time to tick off one of the long stops, the 2-minute 55-second stops. There's another spinner coming out of the Ford chicane. I only make the point about making an early stop because there is a slow... Now there's a full course yellow, so actually you can't do it now because the pits are closed. Full course yellow, just like in the main race, shuts pit lane entry unless you're already there. And the damage was starting to be picked up by several cars very early on, including Gaël Julien in the number 7 car. There was a big question mark, though, PMAC, as to whether Gaël, big talent in that car, actually went a little bit too early.
I think for race control, there is a lot to digest in
Too
those
right.
first 5 minutes, I think it's fair to say. Chaotic. But imagine... You know, you're in one of these LMP3 cars, you've got your hands device on, your helmet on, there's the vision is very limited, and when you're in a pack of 40 or 50 of them, it's really, really tricky to find space. There's almost not enough tarmac to fit them all through. It's really, really tricky. And there was also a spin on the start for the number 16 LMP3 of Ajit Kumar, the Hollywood movie star and singer.
So whilst we're in a moment of calm, the whole of the track is now restricted to 80 kilometres per hour, full course yellow, in order to deal with a number of cars off the road, quite a bit of debris here and there as well. It is a chance for marshals to address the road surface, make it safe for racing again. This is 91.2 FM Radio Le Mans for 2026 and the Friday morning Road to Le Mans race. We are barely 6 minutes into it, but let's head down to the pit lane, informed by driver database, and here's Neil Cole.
Just a report that must have come into the pit lane before the full course yellow was called, because there was some confusion at the CLX Motorsport garage. The number 87 car has come in. The rear left puncture, not quite off the rim, but very flat, has been changed, but it's still sitting in the pit lane. Drivers remaining in the car, and there's a couple of GT3s, and McLaren has just pulled off behind me, which is what you can hear. But yes, this car is being held, the CLX Motorsport car number 87. What can you see up the pit lane, Joe?
Well, never really a surprise. The first lap by the pits, and we get a few cars spearing off with various rates of damage. I'm in front of the Rinaldi pit box now. The number 2 has come in. Not quite sure who the driver is, but quite a bit of damage on the right rear of this car. It's having a little bit of bodywork. The kind of the crash box that fits behind the rear wheel, that's being replaced. Right rear wheel was punctured, and while I was heading down here for this one, there was about 3 or 4 punctured tyres went past on varying cars. So as ever, nothing out of the ordinary here, nothing to see here. Move along.
Yeah, it's become the expected, unfortunately, on the opening lap of a Road to Le Mans race, and sometimes a Michelin Le Mans Cup race as well. For instance, at Barcelona, at the opening race of the year, we had one LMP3 car arriving into turn 1 at Barcelona backwards and managing to backwards T-bone a couple of other P3s on the way through, and you think, this is a 2-hour race. Did anybody tell any of the drivers that was the case? I understand it's very easy for something from the start line to kick off, because you've got cars at very close quarters. You've got 58 of them coming out of a really tight chicane, and if somebody goes slightly too early, then the contact can commence. But it's a combination of maybe a bit of inexperience, also very cold tyres as well.
I think the tyre temperature is one thing. It's very overcast today. The track temperature is sort of hovering around 20 degrees Celsius. Now, that's not excessively cold, but it's not excessively high either. So if you are struggling to get tyre temperature, which on the formation lap often the case, it is. And often a lot of the mistakes that the drivers were making in that first lap was when they just went to tap on the power, and you're talking a big, torquey V8 engine delivering that power, and you're asking the rear wheels to deal with a lot, and they just gives the grip's not just there, and over it goes. But also put yourself in the seat of the driver who has worked and worked and worked at their craft for years to be able to get the opportunity to sit in a race car at Le Circuit de la Sarthe. It's a rare opportunity. We do it once a year. Even the best in the world only get to do it once a year. So to do it for the first time, and for many of these drivers it's their first time here, the anticipation and the nerves, imagine the nerves, your first ever time, it's all understandable. So Aston Martin, the almost a rhubarb custard coloured car with the purple and yellow, that number 90, that's one of the Ecurie Ecosse Blackthorn cars. The other Ecurie Ecosse Blackthorn car in Scottish Racing Blue was number 91, picked up damage on the front of that Aston Martin early on. Ecurie Ecosse, of course, overall winners at Le Mans back in the 1950s.
I said to Joe when we were doing our little preview, walking around their support paddock, that reminded me of refreshers as well. The swizzle flavour, I think. So the refreshers, Aston Martin, or the rhubarb custard, I like that as well. The number 90 Blackthorn car, but unfortunately that's not going anywhere swiftly either, and they are doing a rear right tyre change. This is the time, I suppose, to do it in order for not too much time to be lost. But the other key thing is, as I say, the pit lane is actually closed for anything other than emergency service right now. So if your car is straight and you're thinking, why not get in and burn one of those long stops, get it out of the way nice and early, you actually can't do that under a full course yellow. Let's head back to Joe Bradley to give us a pit lane report informed by driver database.
Yeah, so the number 45 just peeled by me, obviously way down. It's the high-class racing Porsche 911. Max Moritz and Maurice Schuring are the drivers down for this one. Another rear-ender, another car that's been rear-ended, damage on the right rear. I'm trying to fathom out where that could have happened. It could have been anywhere, couldn't it?
Yeah.
And you know what? If I stuck a microphone into these drivers' nose and said what happened, I would probably get told, I have no idea, mate. Turned in, bosh, off I went. Rear wheel puncture, rear damage to the diffuser on the right-hand side. However, the car looks relatively intact other than that, so I would like to think the 45 will get some seat time at least.
The one good thing in regard to Artur Rodjan, the overall race leader for Brutal Fish by Campers, is that this was not called as a safety car, so that big gap that he built up in the first few corners of the opening lap should be retained because everybody is circulating at the same speed, and we're now told that the full course yellow will end in the next 10 seconds. So again, drivers who aren't necessarily used to a full course yellow will get the word in their ear from their engineers. And Artur Rodjan has already gone, but there's carnage coming out of Arnage at the restart, and that's the 50 car. We have Colin Queen, 23 events racing. I think he got a fair old smack from the rear as well. That nerved him into a spin, because pretty much every car now behind Artur Rodjan and maybe behind Daniel Frost is carrying some sort of damage as Colin Queen rejoins, right in the path of 5, 6, 7 of them.
Pretty sure it was the Nielsen racing car of Gaël Julien, the number 7 with the Un sponsorship on the tail, that just got into the back there of that number 50 car. The 23 events racing, absolute chaos here as well. And of course, there's a mixture. The very front-running GT3 cars intermingle with the rear of the LMP3 field, and that gets really messy as well.
It was a concern of mine. At what rate would everybody return to racing speed coming out of the full course yellow? Because often the race director's voice isn't delivered directly into the ears of the race driver. It's repeated by the race engineer. And if there's a slight discrepancy there to say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go, but the car behind you goes marginally ahead, then Colin Queen, well, the car behind Colin Queen, by the looks of things, gave him a big old smack, and that was it. Now, Queen is back in the race in car 50. High Class Racing's Philip Lindbergh is going to pit, though, in the number 20 car at the end of this lap. And Artur Rodjan, well, blissful isolation for this kid. He's 2.6 seconds ahead on this, the third lap of the race. And Brutal Fish by Campers now are a 1-2. So what happened to Colin Queen? He was third. He went a tad wide through the gravel, and he was on his own. He hit the wall on his own, and that's what I thought the contact was from a car up behind, but no, he ran wide, he tagged the rear left corner of the tyre wall, and he's done that all by himself as 55 Ferrari is now sideways at the Ford chicane too.
It's the AF Corsa of Francesco Pio Bonetti. Apologies to the Nielsen racing car of Gaël Julien. That was not guilty, but he does have some damage on the front left.
Right, so I mentioned the High Class Racing number 20 coming in, Joe Bradley, and I suggested to you before we were on air that some might elect to do one of their longer stops nice and early.
Yeah, in has come the number 20, as you said, Johnny. Also just coming past me there was the number 70. But this might pay dividends here. This is a very tactical move here by the number 20. Now remember, this is not as fast as you can do it kind of pit stop. There's a mandatory just under 3 minutes that they have to remain in the pits. He's having a little bit of remedial, bit of sticker damage on the left-hand side. But they have topped up the fuel. They haven't changed tyres or driver by the looks of things. Although, as I say that, driver has popped out. No, not for that car. Just somebody already suited and booted, ready for their car. So this is tactical. They'll get this out of the way. Everybody just gathering. Have we even had a chance to get up to race speed yet? I'm not really sure. Everything has ever been truncated. But the number 20, keep an eye on this one, because this one might move up the order. And I would imagine it will move up the order as you get into this race.
Yeah, well, I don't know the reasons why 2 minutes and 55 seconds was chosen, but that's That's not far off a lap time. It's about 3/4 of a lap time, maybe, so that you're going to drop back considerably. However, there is now another slow zone in place, and this is, well, slow zone 6 and 7 are currently in action. So that means from Mulsanne all the way to Porsche curves in, you can't overtake, and you're restricted to 80 kilometres per hour. You can, though, overtake going into Mulsanne corner, and then all of a sudden is everybody going to slow down to 80 kilometres per hour in time? The field is fanning out, almost Formula Ford style, and that I really worry might be some in fact, it's a stopped car. That's the reason why there's a slow zone in place. There's a car right in the middle. It's almost like a broken down vehicle on the motorway, and people are having to go left and right of that. Looks to be dead stick because there are no headlights on that Ligier. They do now fire back into life, though.
And right in the middle of the gaggle of LMP3 cars is the Bartone brothers Get Speed Mercedes AMG of Steve Jans. Kind of like in the Cars films where you've got all the tractors that they run by and the tractors run over. Imagine the LMP3s are the tractors and Lightning McQueen is Steve Jans.
I think I know where you're going with that, just about. Steve Jans then third right now for Get Speed in the GT3 section of the race. So we do have a GT3 race leader up as high as 18th position. And when you consider the number of LMP3s that we started with at the sharp end, they number 25. I can tell you which Team Virage car was in the gravel, the number 70. That was Vic Stevens very early on. And I think, unfortunately for Vic and his teammate, we're unlikely to see that car again, or at least competitive in this race. The 70 Team Virage car is shared by Jude Peters. So Vic Stevens, Jude Peters, a couple that have come through the Ligier European Series, which is sort of the ACO rung beneath this on the ACO rules ladder. Entry formula being Ligier European Series, of which there are 2 races every European Le Mans Series weekend. And then if you do well in that and start to perform consistently, then teams within the Le Mans Cup may well spot you, or you might stay with the same team, because Virage are active at all levels. They've run LMP2s in the past as well. There were 1 or 2 more pit lane callers, but not really competitive. The only one, and Joe Bradley was dealing with this, was the 20 car of Philip Lindbergh. Lindbergh started that car, so he's staying on board. The minimum drive time in this race, regardless of your FIA rating, is 75 minutes, as I said at the start. So that's an awkward number. However, it might be being made less awkward now because of the full course yellow we've had and the slow zones. It's actually extending the stint time a little bit. And if you could get to 75 minutes on a single stint, that is absolutely ideal.
That is, yeah. Because really you want to do not a minute over your weaker driver.
Yeah, with a lesser rated driver.
If you want to go and win, that's what you need to do, and you need to get your stronger driver in for the maximum number of minutes possible. The Porsche, well, Max Moritz and Maurice Schuring is back moving again, but unfortunately just ducked back into the pits. That's the Highland Green Porsche with the fox on the side of it. Max Moritz, not his real name, but many drivers do that. Sometimes they run under a pseudonym. I believe it's inspired by a German comic book. Max and Moritz, yes.
Yeah, my German comic book knowledge is not sufficient enough to tell you whether you're right or wrong.
Mine's not great either, I'll be honest. In GT3, well, Gulf McLaren lead at Le Mans. Jean-Baptiste Simoner on board. A great opening couple of laps for him, and has been able to get quite a few LMP3 cars between him and the second place GT3 car of Fran Rueda in the biogas motorsport Ferrari.
They're all starting to condense. A moment or two ago, mind you, coming out of Porsche curves, the 22 car had a rotation.
Trajectus.
And that is Stylianos Kolovos, the son of Georgios Kolovos, who does some LMP2 racing in the European Le Mans Series. And for that car, actually, though, that's not Stylianos Kolovos, I beg your pardon. Let me tell you who's at the wheel of that car, number 22, or maybe PMAC can.
Well, the team...
Andre Vieira, there we go.
The
Andre
team
Vieira.
Trajectories owned by Benoit Treluet, 3-time Le Mans 24-hour winner. They're a very, very strong rally team now as well, Trajectories, with Johan Bonato in the French Tarmac Championship and the European Rally Championship as well. So multi-talented, and classic racing too, throw that in the mix.
Side by side for the 35 car to the high line as they go out onto the Mulsanne for a fourth time. So cracking action within LMP3 Pro-Am, and that is Arlen Boulin for Ultimate, having a good dice with Alexander Bukantsov as we head down to Joe Bradley for a pit lane report. Informed by driverdb.com. Joe, what have you got?
Yeah, number 49 is in for a pit stop, and our chance to talk to our first driver who can give us an idea of what that chaos. It looked chaos from where we were, Andrew Rackstraw. What was it like for you?
Chaos is a perfect word to use. It is absolute chaos. Lots of fun. You really have to pinch yourself before the start of the race. But as soon as the lights went out, survival is the main thing. And we survived at the moment, which is good. But just, I think, with the tyres being cold, there was lots of problems for many drivers, lots of contact. Like I said, survival is key. We've survived. Michael's going to go out, hopefully do a great stint, and then I'll be back in the car to finish.
Andrew, was this always the plan to pit at this early stage?
It was. We've taken a bit of a gamble with me to start, being the silver. Just there's less of a chance of anything going wrong at the start of the race. Maybe it comes back to us later on in the race, but we'll have to see. It's a gamble. We were probably the only team who did it. It will either be winners or zero at the end, but we'll make the most of it.
Well, you're probably not the person to ask this. It's more a team manager question, but I would think that was a very clever decision to put the silver in at the start, because with your racecraft and experience of racecraft, you can perhaps see things that maybe a less experienced driver doesn't recognise in that chaotic start.
Completely agreed. I mean, an event like this with so many cars, there's bound to be things to go wrong. And the more calm you can be, the better you'll be able to execute split decision moves. And that's exactly what we did. Like I said, it's a long race. We'll see if it did pay off for us. If not, but regardless, we're here, we're having fun, we're at Le Mans, racing at Le Mans. I mean, wow, come on.
That's the attitude, my friend. Enjoy the rest of the day. It doesn't matter what happens, is it?
No, exactly.
Exactly, great stuff. Andrew Rackstraw out of the 49.
Yeah, and pleased you've highlighted that, Joe, because I hadn't realised that Andrew had gone in for the first stint, as he quite rightly says. Probably the only team to have done that, high-class racing. So now they've got Michael Hove taking over. They came in, though, as the LMP3 Pro-Am race leaders, and Rackstraw is a Porsche Carrera Cup GB champion from last year, managing 3 wins, 119 points. He got 8 podia along the way as well. So the silver-rated South African is a good secret weapon. He will have to go back in that car, but after Michael Hove has done his 75 minutes. And again, they'll try and get that out of the way in a single stint. But that's more difficult now, PMAC, because we are back to green flag running all around the racetrack again.
And hopefully now we can get into a little bit of a rhythm and see who has got what. The Brutal Fish by Campos car is looking really strong early on, with Arthur Rogon leading the way in the number 12 and the 19 of Martus Ribas. So it's 1-2 for Campos, and they're 5 seconds clear of the chasing car of Daniel Frost in the RACE GP number 85. Nielsen Racing and 4 Vector Sport RLR round out the top 5. But Jean-Baptiste Simonauer, get this, he's in 13th overall in a GT3 car. Amazing. He's just cutting through the field with aplomb.
Yeah, but Simonauer qualified the car as well. So he is joined by Martin, DeAndres Martin in that 77 car. But Jean-Baptiste Simonauer, a rated driver as well, and he was right up there in the qualification times, the quickest GT3 driver with a 3:53.704. So again, that could come good. However, we do need the bronze time in that car, and he's up against GT3 drivers that are burning bronze time. Fran Rueda, though, is a silver. So for Biogas Motorsport, the 23 car, again, I'm not going to say it's in a false position, but it is progressing nicely. And that, again, might not be a bad approach to this race. Normally in a 2-hour race, you wouldn't dream of putting your quicker driver in for the opening stint. But it's all about trying to steer away from the crashes and the various incidents. And actually, Jean-Baptiste Simonauer is pressurising an LMP3 car going into the second chicane of Cedric Ultramark.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing stuff. This is some stint from Jean-Baptiste Simonauer, the gold rated drivers. And we've seen these standout performances in this race in the past. I remember back 2021, we had some great performance from Logan Sargent and from Julian Andlauer as well. Every time they jumped in the car, they just put on a real show. Dorian Pat as well has really shone in this race in the past. Into the barrier though, sadly, for the number 62 Pro-Am entry, Breton Racing, started by Jacek Zielonka, the Polish driver, clattering into the barrier at Forest S, is going towards Tete Rouge. That has been the wall of champions this week. Many cars finding that wall. You only have to just dip a wheel off and push, we're off.
And actually the P3, there was a P3 car there almost going off in sympathy to the 10 Aston Martin. It was the Aston from Racing Spirit of Le Mans, and it was having its own moment, and then all of a sudden the LMP3 kind of had nowhere to go, or maybe have been pushing just as hard as the Racing Spirit of Le Mans car, which I think was started by, yes, the bronze there, Philippe Saga, Austrian racer, although very experienced, and Saga runs in 9th place. So we're on lap 5 of this 3-hour race. We've had nearly half an hour of it, and Artur Rodjan is now 7 and a bit seconds clear of his teammate Matas Rebar. Daniel Frost in the best place Duqueine for RHGP, still in 3rd, which is where he started the race. He's got a Duqueine right with him, though, of Gaël Julien, who did have a moment coming out of the Mulsanne corner not long ago. So Nielsen and the number 7 car might be being investigated for that very good getaway. I was just a bit fearful that Julian went a tad too early, but if the greens had already been being shown, the green flag was waving, then that is the point you can jink out of your natural grid line. Up until that point, you're told you must drive right through the grid hatchings before the race is officially started. This is a good dice as well, involving car 37 with a couple of other ones behind. So this is Louis Stern, 4th in LMP3 Pro-Am, but he has a regular LMP3 car with him as well in Aditya Patel for Ajit Red Ant Racing. That's not the Ajit car, because Aditya Patel's actually driving with Narain Karthikeyan this weekend in car number 36.
Very cool to see the former Formula One driver here, and of course the guy who is partly responsible for Andre Lotterer getting his break in an Audi R10. It's maybe not what he would like to be remembered for, but that's great to see Ajit Red Ant Racing. We know Red Ant really well here in the Radio Show Limited clan, because we do a lot with the Michelin 24-hour series, and Red Ant Racing have been a real stalwart of that championship for several years, also running on the Michelin tyre.
So involved in this same dice is Daniel Goldberg in the number 78 M Racing car. He's in behind the biogas Ferrari as well of Fran Rueda, who continues to make steady ground. They've got Fran Rueda, who's the silver, or is he gold actually, Fran, these days? He's silver in the 23 biogas car. Faster than bronze is around him in LMP3s, although the Ferrari now is about to be overtaken by a P3 in behind. Christian Gysi in the 24 Racing Spirit of Le Mans car. You've got the Mercedes involved as well, which is running in 3rd of Steve Jans. So actually sandwiched in between them is Daniel Goldberg in the M Racing 78.
Dan Goldberg having a great couple of years in the INSA WeatherTech Championship in the LMP2 category, as over here one of the LMP3s coming in with a rear left damaged tyre flapping about. It's gone completely flat. That's the number 50 machine of 23 Events Racing that ended up in the barrier at Arnage. Into the pits it comes. Fuel hose going in. If you can get through the first half an hour without a scuff on the car, you've done very, very well indeed, and should maybe place a lottery ticket on for tonight's draw. Yeah,
because I'm not sure what the chances of that occurring were at the start of the race, frankly, and not a lot of people do. You start this race thinking, well, we've kind of done everything we can, and then we're in the lap of the Road to Le Mans gods from this point onwards. Are we predicted to finish the first lap, the first hour, the whole of the race? Who knows? And actually, if you make it to the second hour, then generally your chances of getting a good result must have increased significantly. Still mightily impressed with the pace of Fran Rueda, although he is now being overtaken by Dan Goldberg. And that now brings into threat the second place in GT3, because Steve Jans is right with the Ferrari now. They're arriving at Indianapolis. Yes, Jean-Baptiste Simonauer has headed up the road in the SMC Motorsport McLaren, And the traffic might give Steve Yates a favour because he thought about a move down the inside at Arnage. They're 2 abreast in front as well for LMP3 honours, but this is much more significant for the GT3 podium.
Steve Jans getting plenty of track time at the moment. He was in Paul Ricard last weekend, driving in the Michelin 24-hour series in one of those Mercedes AMGs. He's driving with Anthony Bartone, who they won the race together, the first of 2 races last year at the 24 Hours of Le Mans Road to Le Mans races, and putting Fran Rueda under a lot of pressure now as they come through the Porsche curves, an area where the LMP3 cars should theoretically pull away, but that's not been the case. These GT3 cars at the front of the field being driven very well.
Let's get another pit lane update informed by driver database. Here's Neil.
I've been trying to get some words with drivers down here, and I just ran up to the number 50, where the car, and Colin Queen's just got out of that car with a lot of damage to the rear, and it's sitting. It's a bit of damage to the front as well. It's like quite a lot of it's out of shape, and Colin ruefully shook his head to the negative as to whether I could speak to him. So he's clearly suffering a little bit. On the flip side of that, I was trying to get a word with the next driver that's going to be going into the car number 77 in LMGT3, Gonzalo de Andres Martin, and he said yes, he was pretty chill. He said he's going in the car in about 5 or 10 minutes, but he said, I don't want to do an interview because my English is not so good. So I'm doing my best down here, but I can tell you that there's a lot of damage to the rear of this number 50. Colin Queen's got out, and if it gets going again, it'll be quite the way down the field.
It will, unfortunately. Thank you, Neil Cole, with that pit lane update informed by driver database. And we had thought that actually Colin Queen had been collected by somebody else, but in fact he made an error, it would appear, coming out of Arnage, ran a tad wide and then rattled the car down the wall. But Gonzalo Martin de Andres, the man from Madrid who you speak about, has come out of the 24H series, actually, having driven much smaller cars, the Team Altron Peugeot back in the day, about a decade or so ago, actually, for Gonzalo, and he finds himself for the first time at Le Mans on the main circuit.
Daniel Frost is pushing on here, trying to run down the second place car of Matus Reba for Brutal Fish by Campos. Our race leader is 5.3 seconds up the road. Arthur Rojon is flying for Brutal Fish by Campos, number 12. Meanwhile, a completely naked carbon rear deck being put on the number 50 machine that Neil just talked about. That's that is the 23 Events racing car, and clearly they've had to go to the Ligier parts truck and haven't had a chance to put the livery on yet. So yeah, naked carbon it is, but we don't mind about a naked carbon.
Shows the car's been in a motor race and has not had a necessary free ride through it either, but hopefully that car can rejoin.
Wow.
Looking very good for Brutal Fish by Campos. However, there are a number of cars now being given drive-through penalties. I was fearful about Gael Julien. This is all related to the start procedure, and he is one of the numbers on the list, PMAC.
That he is, yeah. Unfortunately, that is our 4th place car, Julien Gael, drive-through penalty for a start procedure infringement. Also the number 15 machine of Vector Sport RLR, which is running a little bit further down.
7th though?
Excuse me, yes, you're right, I was looking too far down as well. So, pity for them. Also the 87, that's the CLX Motorsport car. That one at the moment has better been a little bit more delayed, I think. Yes, it is. And finally the number 62, which is the Breton racing car, which actually just one of those cars just come into the pits, yeah, running further down the order, unfortunately, in 10th in LMP3
yeah,
Pro
but
Am.
I think the Breton cars had quite a good start to the season, so it is one of the championship contenders, even though it's not doing so well in this race. So that could be significant when you've got a lot of points on offer for this race. A couple going straight on at Mulsanne, one far more meaningfully and making the gravel track from LMP3 that was, and right in front of Philippe Saga's Aston Martin. So that could easily have been Jacek Zielonka, unless the timing screen nap represents the correct order. There is an Aston circulating with a huge shark bite out of the front right corner.
That's the Kuriakos car. Giacomo Petrabelli, it's not holding him back though, he's charging forward. Is the Aston Martin driver. He's sitting 5th in GT3 at the moment, just behind the WRT BMW of Arnold Robin. And I am purely impartial, but it is pretty cool to see the Ikuria shield on the roof of that Aston Martin Vantage. I had a great privilege a couple of months ago to have lunch with Hugh McCaig, who's the owner of Ikuria. I mean, his son put a lot of effort into trying to grow Scottish motorsport, and they want to bring Ikuria back to the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Awesome. I'm well sold on that idea. So let's make it happen. It might take a couple of years perhaps, but it sounds like the hunger is there to do it. I was right about the 62 Breton racing car. They are the championship leaders, Jacek Zielonka and Leo Robinson, winning in Barcelona, finishing second at Le Castellet. So it looks like they're going to drop significant points, because to win this race, if you win this race, you get 38 points for a race win, unlike the 25 on a normal 2-hour round. And Brutal Fish Campos, from a team's perspective, could be about to sweep up as well. Although it's the team's championship is not done collectively, you earn points according to each individual car, but there is nevertheless a championship up for grabs for the best team as well.
Into the pits has come that Ikuria number 91 Aston Martin from 5th in GT3. Giacomo Petrovelli bringing that car in. Likewise, AF Corsa number 83 of Norikazu Shibata. So pit stops going on. Meanwhile, a few moments ago, nearly a spin, half a spin for the 37 CLX car, and Racing Spirit of Le Mans in the gravel now, number 24 in LMP3 Pro-Am, and deep in the gravel as well. The cheese wedge at the back of the car, scooping gravel up.
So this is again a run coming out of Forest S's over the rise, and just after that peak, it's so easy to run out of road on the exit, and that is exactly what has happened to the number 24 car that runs in the Pro-Am category, sideways, backwards into the gravel, and that is going to prove very difficult indeed to recover that car for Christian Gysi. And he shares it, incidentally, with Oscar Christensen. Christensen, a hugely famous name when it comes to the history of this place, a 9-time race winner, Tom Christensen, who is Oscar's uncle, by the way. So it looks like Oscar, at this stage, won't get a drive unless the marshals could get that car out of the gravel track at Tête Rouge and back on the racetrack. It'll be certainly worth doing. There is an escape route right at the back of the gravel track, which is hard standing, and the marshals will be given the job to make that car safe at least. Let's hope Christian can re-fire it. But another slow zone in place to cover that. Quite a short one, just isolated to Tête Rouge currently.
And we've got another one on the exit, basically between the two chicanes on the Mulsanne, unfortunately. But at the front of the field, Arthur Rojon, 22.6 seconds to the good.
Yeah,
remarkable.
It's outrageous.
That is a big, big gap. Everywhere else, the gaps are pretty tight as we go through. Really close. Battle also for the fringes of the top 10 in LMP3. The Ajit Redouane car with Aditya Patel battling away with the Inter-Europol machine of Christian Daneman Jorgensen. Try and fit that sticker on the side of an LMP3 cockpit.
Yeah, a few abbreviations necessary, I would warrant. By the way, Artur Rojon will be handing over at some point to August Reber, who is the 17-year-old Swede who'll take over that car once Artur has done his 75 minutes, or will they decide to flip-flop a little bit between drivers. To be honest, that's maybe not the best strategy, because you're having to do one extra driver change or two extra driver changes in comparison to just the single one. GT3s, though, side by side again for second and third in this category, arriving at Indianapolis. The Biogas motorsport car driven by Spaniard Fran Rueda, with Steve Jans right on his tail, the man from Luxembourg. And he wanted to go down the inside at Arnage, but was compromised because they were both overtaking an LMP3 car again.
And in their mirrors was Dan Goldberg in the M Motorsport LMP3 car, taking a trip into the gravel and out again at Indianapolis 2. Racing Spirit of Le Mans, are they able to get the number 24 car back from that gravel trap at Tête Rouge? It's still showing as a slow zone at the moment. Fran Rueda trying to make his way through on traffic, second place in GT3. Around Porsche curves they go now, and Steve Jansen, the chasing Mercedes, has got completely balked by the LMP3. and that is going to give Fran Rueda a little bit of a gap to try and pull away. Now, into the pits comes one of our former front-running cars, Race GP, Daniel Frost, number 85. And
they've decided to pit the sister car at Race GP as well, as a bit goes flying from a CLX LMP3 Ligier. That is one of the legality panels, the cheese wedges. Some teams call them the bullets as well.
Wedge fromage.
Wedge fromage, very good. But the crucial thing about that is they've got to be present on the car for the car to pass scrutineering at the end. So the team will have to now locate another one, because that's gone fully for a Burton at Porsche Curves. It's also sitting on the curb, which is not ideally helpful for Gwen Boursier, the race director, because he might have to throw a slow zone in order to now collect that.
Race leader in the pit lane in LMP3 Pro-Am, Antti Ramo, the Estonian driver for DKR Engineering, the black car with the orange and blue flashes on it. Also, Rinaldi taking a pit stop with their 71 car. That was brought in by Stefan Aust. They've got Felipe Fernandez-Laza, winner of the Nürburgring 24-hour with Fricadelli back in 2023. He knows LMP3 very, very well, done many laps and races with Fricadelli in that type of car as well. But slow, problem for, oh no, it's the slow zone, sorry. So that's the first one of the weekend. Number 12, number 12 race leader Arthur Rojon is going through the slow zone. Calm down, Mackay, calm down.
Calm down, and I need to calm down a little bit as well. Let's go to perhaps the coolest man on our broadcast, live from the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre. In fact, though, this man is in the pit lane, bringing us a pit lane update, informed by driver database, Neil Cole.
It is quite cool down here. The temperatures are not as high as I expected. So the 85 and the 86 are very smoothly worked out series of pit stops for the both. Fresh tyres and fuel in both. The 85 have just been turned on the trolley, so it's pointing in the right direction because it's very, very tight. The pit lane has suddenly got very, very busy. So the 85 roars off down into the fast lane first. The board is now still in front of the number 86 car with the kill engine. Now it goes upwards, says start engine, and this car is about to pull out right over my toes. 86 about to leave the pit lane, and the activity next door, interestingly, the leading car, looks like they're getting ready to do a pit stop and fuel, but I can't see any sign of the teenage driver, so I don't think there'll be a driver change in the leading car.
We've got a very crowded pit lane. Is this the strategic pit stops? So the mandatory pit stops have been taken at this point in the race strategically. Now, I'm quite surprised by the decision at the number 16. The Ajit rendered by Viraj, number 16 in. Ajit Kumar is in the car. He started the car. There's no sign of Ajit getting out. They shuffled the car on the dolly jacks a little bit closer to the fueling station. Remember, just to give it people out there on the track, that these pits are not the Road to Le Mans pits. They're sharing it with the big race. So all of their rigs, all of the team rigs, are slightly proud of the pit garages. So it's a little bit sort of more of a narrower pit lane for the cars to get by. It doesn't really cause a problem. The cars are not necessarily on the pit apron. They're more on the Michelin strip that runs in front of the garages. But again, it's a wide enough pit lane to accommodate everyone. But the crucial decision here at the number 16 is that Ajit Kumar, the bronze driver, is staying in for another stint, just coming to the end of this pit stop, as all of the cars are now meeting their 2 minutes 55 requirement. The 16 is he waves the board away, and he's just waiting on the radio. Ajit Kumar now waiting on the radio for the word to get going, and he does indeed. There he is, just going out the pits now. First stop completed for that team.
Yeah, so let's hope that it's all done to the correct time as well. It's not about the time that you're stationary, but from pit in to pit out can't be quicker than 2 minutes and 55 seconds, and you have to do that on 3 separate occasions at some point during the race. It doesn't make sense to take a bronze driver out at this stage because they've only done 45 minutes, and each bronze, or regardless of rating, actually every single driver has to be at the wheel for 75 minutes, and remember that's out on track time as well. Any time whatsoever spent in the pits, even if the safety car brought everyone in to drive through the pits, even that doesn't count towards your drive time. So it's all the time that you're on the 8.5 mile circuit and not in pit lane. Always best to be on top of that rule as well.
45 minutes complete. So for those that have kept their driver in they've now only got to do another half an hour to actually complete the minimum drive time. So for an example, Ajit Kumar, one of the bronze drivers in the which are mandated in the LMP3 Pro-Am category, half an hour, and then can hand over to their co-driver.
But what I will say is, it's minus the 3 minutes that you were sitting in the pit lane doing that first stop. So
very true.
There's an hour and 33, actually, if you're doing it by clock. This is what I mean. It's so easy to kind of trip up
Driving
over these
time,
rules.
not sitting time.
Yeah. So the time that you are in motion and not in the pit lane is all that counts. Now, very slow going into a slow zone, but the decreasing speed sometimes alter quite a bit, and there is the chance of a nose-to-tail contact sometimes as well. This is going to be a moot point during the main race, I reckon, too, because going into an actual speed-restricted slow zone, before that you're going to have this thing called the next slow at the marshal post in front, as we're now finding out why there's been so much damage, I think, from the opening lap on the Blackthorn Aston Martin, or is that a much more recent incident, Pete?
I think it's another one for the number 91 Aston Martin Courier Cos car, just drilled up the back by one of the LMP3 cars. Wow, okay. The car is still showing in 8th though, with Giacomo Petrovelli still on board. That may be why it came into the pit seemingly out of sequence. Very, very strange.
Car 7, we're just hearing from Neil Cole, has served its drive-through penalty. That is because Gael Julien jumped the start, basically, and he moved from his left side grid position to the middle of the road to try and start overtaking people, but he did that far too early. So it wasn't an out-of-position start, it was an old-school jump start going before the green light was displayed, and there were 3 other cars on that list for drive-throughs, so you'll see a few more of those, Neil, if they haven't already happened. And where the number 7 car has rejoined, I think this is Gael Julien now, in behind the number 8 car.
Look at Motorsport BWT machine.
Actually, beg your pardon, no, it's not. It's the 4 of Jules Caranta, so it's the sister Nielsen racing car. And Mathis Prushkel, as you say, for BWR Muka Motorsport. This is the scrap, therefore, for 3rd and 4th now.
And the Nielsen car really pushing on both Duquesne chassis, the Ligier also an option. We've got a kind of good mix of the two, and through goes the Nielsen car of Jules Caranta up onto the provisional podium positions. Then nothing really that Mathis Prushkel could do, but they do, you know, there's a long draft here on with these LMP3 cars. I think they actually really look good. I mean, they are an LMP, Le Mans prototype, as you say, Johnny. They're elegant looking machines and look fantastic. Charging down the Mulsanne straight now. They're coming through towards Indianapolis, and the Muka car of Mathis Prushkel coming back into Indianapolis. One is a big wiggle from the rear then. Oh my word, from the Nielsen car coming into Indianapolis, one where they're just tipping in, and the rear just went to snap away, but Jules Caranta, what a catch.
Phenomenal stuff. First chicane action again, the Daytona chicane, and a few moments ago there was contact between a couple of LMP3 cars, but that was the big biff for the Aston Martin. And I think you're right that the damage to the front right-hand corner of that Aston Martin had already happened. Yes, it's already missing the front right wing, and then it got drilled by maybe a CLX car into the Daytona chicane. So that CLX car is now carrying a whole load of bits on the front as well, not in the right order.
And that Blackthorn Courier Cos Aston Martin, if it's still able to run after that hit, because it was directly to the rear right wheel, I'd be amazed if that's not significantly damaged. They did drive away from the incident, but right now the car going round but losing a lot of time as things stand. Into the pits then, number 12, race leader, former race leader Arthur Rojon. What an opening stint for him, and the good news for that crew is with 50 minutes down, they've got some more driver time if they want it. The Courier Cos Blackthorn car now limping its way back. The air has come out of the rear right Michelin after that impact, and I mean, I'd be very surprised if a Courier Cos Blackthorn can get that car repaired and back out again.
Without a doubt, the star man in his opening 50 minutes of the first ever 3-hour Road to Le Mans race is Arthur Rojon, and in this pit lane report informed by driver database, he's catching up with Neil Cole.
Arthur, yes, you're here with me. An incredible first stint. You've got a smile on your face. You've literally just taken your helmet off, adjusting the hair. Talk us through that beginning of this race?
Yeah, I'm really happy. The plan is going in the perfect way for us. Managed to stay at the lead for the first stint. Managed to build a good gap. Car is incredible. Team is doing an amazing job for the moment, so really happy and confident.
And of course, it's been quite chaotic behind you, but you've been able to steer clear of any trouble.
Honestly, I don't know anything about what happened behind me. I was just focused on myself, my driving, pushing every corner, every lap to build the biggest gap possible.
Well, you'll be able to catch up on Radio Le Mans later and listen to it again. Tell us about your teammate and what he's got to do and what you entrust him with now with the car.
Yeah, August is an incredible driver. He got a really good pace. He will just drive, I don't know for how many time. Strategy is still moving, depend of the race, but yeah, I'm confident with him. He's gonna be really quick. He will do an incredible job, and we'll see then.
So you said you don't know exactly the strategy yet. You don't know when you'll be back in the car. Maybe for the end.
Yeah, maybe for the end, maybe not back in the car. I have no idea for the moment. I would need to talk to engineer.
I think you will have to go back in the car, but depending on what the engineer says as to when.
Yeah, we will see. Thank you.
Well done. Good drive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Perhaps the prettiest car on the grid is in the pits, and it looks like it's going nowhere else. Charlie Bateman, you've just brought the prettiest car on the grid into the pits, and you seem to have had a piece of elastic or a bungee tie attaching you backwards and forwards into the pits. Troubles?
Yeah, we've had a couple of troubles. So, yeah, first lap, literally going into turn 2 up at the Goodyear Bridge, got hit on the side, got hit at the back, collected someone who had spun in front of me as well. So, and then with the puncture on the rear, unfortunately, the ABS sensor failed on the car. So, driving around here without any ABS is interesting. So we thought it better to, we're too far up the pace, so we just parked the car. But as you said, prettiest car on the grid. My daughter chose the pink, so yeah, Florence designed the pink. So
Kind of like those, remember those refresher chews? It reminds me of those.
yeah, she's called it rhubarb and custard.
I love it, rhubarb and custard indeed. We thought things were going to change for the Road to Le Mans race with the 3-hour race. However, it doesn't seem to have had any effect on driver attitude and mentality out there.
No, I think all week I've not managed to have one single green flag lap. Every lap there's been a slow zone, red flag in testing, or full course yellow. The P3 cars go off everywhere. I think, to be honest, it's they need tyre warmers, to be fair. But yeah, driving standards in this championship are a bit interesting. Not really used to it, to be fair. But a bit of a shame. It's fantastic to be at Le Mans, though. So
Yeah, that's the spirit. That's the spirit, Charlie. You're here, breathe it in. I know there's nobody in the stands yet, but breathe it in.
my family are, so that's fine.
That's the main thing. And rhubarb and custard is the best looking car out there.
Brilliant, thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.
Well, hopefully we'll see that Blackthorn Aston again in action in the Le Mans Cup. There's a huge accident now for what again looks like it's the 97 CLX car. I was about to say it's one of those machines, and 97 is being driven by Cedric Ultramar.
The safety car.
Safety car, though, is the decision from Gwen Bossier, the race director for the Road to Le Mans and for the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Now, safety car does not close the pit lane. However, I think new for 2026, there will be 3 independent safety cars, just like the main race. That is a huge hit into the safer barrier, though, for Cedric Ultramar, tearing up the rear left corner of his 97 CLX motorsport car. He certainly caught the curb. I can't quite tell from another angle whether he caught the car in front as well.
We're on the safety car, so you need to catch up with your line of safety car. Please, team managers, communicate to your drivers to catch up with the safety car. 88, you need to pick up the pace. 88, you need to pick up the pace to catch up with your safety car.
At that point, you're talking 130, 140 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And there is no runoff there.
Coming to MP31, we will have marshals and medical car exposed. So you bear left at 31.
So turn 31, or Marshall Post 31 more accurately, is the start, or actually the secondary bit of the Porsche curves. You've already gone into Porsche itself, the right-hander, and it's the left-hander where the track crosses the public road there, where it's whacked the safer barrier.
Catch up with the safety car, please.
Again, the advice from Gwen Bossier is to catch up with your safety car train. So safety cars A, B and C released at different points, and that is to calm down the race as quickly as possible. Although unlike in the main race, similar to the main race, the pit lane entry road remains open and you can do any sort of work in there as you wish. So it doesn't have to be emergency service. However, the pit lane exit is going to be closed until a safety car line goes by, the final car in that line crosses safety car line 1, and then you're able to tag on to the back.
I suspect that the clean-up and work required at Porsche curbs will take a little while, so I suspect everyone will get the opportunity to pit during the safety car and come back out again. It's not going to be the work of a moment. The car is heavily damaged and in the middle of the road there. So, yeah, a bit of work to do. The Gulf McLaren in, the car of the, by no doubt at all, car of the day so far, and Jean-Baptiste Simoneur driving his socks off in that McLaren Barcelona. Beautiful Gulf colour scheme, that shiny metallic blue with the orange stripe through the middle, harking back to the McLaren F1 GTR.
Just had a moment
to slap on some Davidoff.
Just had a moment to have a look at the penultimate column on our timing screen, which tells you the length of time for the last pit stop. Everybody's in the clear, apart from the number 7 car, which is the Nielsen Racing car that Gael Julien started. Remember, he had to take that drive-through for a jump start, and now the pit stop, which has seen Alfie Briggs take that car over, is 2 minutes and 54 seconds. So they are just underneath it, and I bet it's not a full second either. It might be tenths of seconds that we're talking, but it's not 2 minutes 55. So I fear that that's going to be another penalty for car number 7. Joe Bradley just said something quickly in my ears. I know he's chasing somebody, so let's just head to Joe Bradley, because I said to you, Joe, if we get an early safety car, you couldn't really argue that in an hour into this race it's necessarily that early, but it does mean a chance to maybe burn one of these 2 minute 55 stops.
Yeah, it was just, I was really impressed by just the mere sight of this Gulf livery McLaren Jean-Baptiste. I think Neil has got Jean-Baptiste Simoneur now, so we've got a chance to speak to the driver. That's I think has had this McLaren way up the GT field.
Yes, I was just explaining how this was going to work to Jean-Baptiste Simoneur. Jean-Baptiste, you were getting a pat on the back from some of your engineers. The car looks absolutely pristine. How well did that stint go compared to how you expected it to go?
Well, I think it went quite well. We are currently leading, so it's all good to me. I think on strategy we're quite good also with the safety car, so it's quite nice. It's intense on the track with all of the LMP3s, but yeah, just trying to keep pushing, stay focused and avoid any contact.
I think that's the crucial thing, isn't it? But, you know, considering how many LMP3 cars there are, did you expect to be leading overall when you came in for your driver change?
No, not really, but it's a nice feeling, I have to admit. Yeah, it was a bit, I had to fight a lot with LMP3s. I was expecting them to be faster than us before coming here. But we have a very strong top speed, we are very good on braking, so we're actually matching pace with a lot of them. So it's requires a lot of focusing in the car. It's a lot of fun though.
That's interesting. Can you tell us where specifically on the track you're faster than or as fast as the LMP3s?
Well, I think compared to the fastest LMP3s, I'm a bit slower. But compared to amateur drivers, I will be gaining a lot on braking. And because I'm preparing a lot my exit, I'm gaining also a bit on exit. On top speed, they're a bit faster than me. But just on being very clear on driving, I managed to just get overtaking and stuff like this.
Okay, now tell us about your co-driver who's just got in the car. Will this be his one stint?
Yeah, so Gonzalo just jumped in. He's a bronze driver. He will try to clear driving time right now, and we see how it evolves with Focus Yellow, safety cars and stuff like this.
And then you'll bring the car home at the end?
It's not confirmed yet.
Well, good luck and well done. Great first stint.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
It is confirmed, because if not, they won't hit his minimum driver time. But I suspect he will be getting in. They've all been told to be secret squirrels today.
They have, rather, yeah. But anyone that's read the regulations says that absolutely everyone in this race has to do a minimum of 75 minutes. And the thing is, Gonzalo, his Spanish teammate, has just taken over from the 25-year-old Frenchman, who actually hails from just south of Le Mans in Chambray-les-Tours. But I don't know, it's maybe about an hour's drive away from here for Jean-Baptiste Simonauer. He does a lot of driving, though, around Europe and further afield as well. There's no stranger to an LMP2 car at this race. Drove for Inter-Europol competition, indeed, in their LMP2 car at the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 2025. So, yeah, as a bronze driver getting in now, you would think, do your hour and a quarter across probably 2 stints and then get Jean-Baptiste back in that McLaren. That's a big, big hit for Cedric Ultramar, though, doing damage clearly to the car, but they're also, the medics are checking on scene that Cedric is okay and can get himself out of the car unaided. Any sort of complaints of back pain or neck pain, they will be doing that as gingerly as possible.
You've got to be super careful with that, yeah. And it can't be easy to get into an LMP3 car as well. They're very, very tightly packaged. Maybe a little bit of extra colour on that incident. The Stellar Motorsport number 42 was just ahead there of the CLX car and in the middle of the road, as of course is at the right, but going much slower than I think the driver of the CLX car expected.
Yep.
And they got up over the curb and then it went wrong from there. And you are flat to the boards in an LMP3 car there. Totally maximum attack through that left-hander. And if you've got a car that's not going at the speed you expect it to on the line, and you've got to adjust your line, it can go wrong so fast. And of all the places on the circuit, that is the bit where you would punish the hardest, because there is no runoff. It's almost like a very brief proportion where it's almost like a street circuit. I mean, I know a good proportion of the Circuit de la Sarthe is public road, but more like what's the circuit in Saudi Arabia called? Oh, it's the name. You know the one.
Yeah,
I mean, the Saudi Arabian F1 track where it's walls right there. It's like that for a small portion.
Yes. So you're going into a tunnel effectively
Jeddah.
for those first few corners.
Jeddah.
Thank you, Neil or Joe, one of the two. I couldn't quite tell with a quick blast of your voice off air. So there's going to be a 3-minute stop and go now for car number 2 for a breach of the full course yellow infringement, and car number 2,
Ronaldo Racing.
Yeah, for Stylianos Kolovos. Now I don't know whether it was Stylianos who was the offender or whether his teammate. Indeed, have we even had a driver change in that car? Possibly not for Rinaldi Racing's number 2 car. Just scroll down to get the latest driver in that car. No, it's still Kolovos in the LMP3 category. Not had a great race up until now because it was well placed in the LMP3 grid and is now running 46th overall.
And the crews that have been able or fitted their bronze driver in prior to the safety car, this is really going to give them a slight edge over their competitors who haven't, because behind the safety car, even you and I think would be competitive, Johnny.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's luck of the draw, isn't it? You don't know when a safety car is going to come out, and I think that, I mean, the team strategists in the 24 Hours of Le Mans have a difficult job, but I think this is actually much more difficult because it's in such a condensed period, 3 hours, and there's so many variables, and you know there's probably going to be a safety car, you know there's going to be slow zones, but when and where, that is the really difficult bit. And you've got to be so reactive on the strategy and thinking about driver times and thinking about fuel mileage, etc. Really complex for the crews to keep on top of that. And the thing is, if you make a strategical mistake, within 3 hours, it's very hard to get it back.
Nigh on impossible some of the time, especially because this track is so long. And it's easy to kiss goodbye to the lead lap, and then you will spend the rest of the day, or the rest of the morning rather, trying to find your way to the crucial points of the positioning. So 3 hours on the clock initially, 65 minutes now gone in this first ever 3-hour Road to Le Mans race, and a good chance under this safety car for cars to come in and do a quick stop in a cheap fashion, you might argue. So I think we're going to have quite a lot of cars now following one another down pit lane, PMAC, for a chance to do another 2 minutes and 55 second stop, because there's no rule about, you know, there needing to be different amounts of time in between each of your stops. You could do them back to back if you wish, but you want to save some for genuine fuel. So you should be able to do this race on 2 stops. The third one is sort of in the way. It just now depends on how that fits into your strategy.
I think you've got to be really careful about track position, though, because there's so many cars, 3 different classes, and if you do pit and you then all of a sudden have a huge amount of traffic ahead of you, particularly if you're one of the faster cars in your class, and then you've got to mix with the slower cars in another class, that's another part of the puzzle to add in. It's a very, very complex equation, isn't it, to keep on top of. I think particularly if not only if you were a driver wanting to get the road to Le Mans, we've seen many drivers compete and win in this class and go all the way to the World Endurance Championship and indeed the 24 Hours of Le Mans. If you're a strategist, what a breeding ground!
Yeah, yes, because learning your trade. It's no surprise that teams like WRT, who had a mind to go into the top class with BMW, but years before they did that, they were in LMP2, I think, for a couple of seasons, getting to grips with how an ACO rules race runs, and the little secrets that you might be able to delve into, find out about, particularly the rules you might stumble upon if you've not read the regulations, or maybe not even been in that scenario that you dreamt up before. You know, suddenly you're presented with a situation, go, well, we never thought of this. What do the rules say about it? Is there a loophole somewhere? So you do that test bed at LMP2 level, or in your example, at Road to Le Mans level, and then that means that you come back to the 24 hours of the race, 24-hour race, the main race, fully educated.
Well, we talk a lot about, we have talked a lot about the Michelin 24-hour series in this broadcast, the series that we cover on the Radio Show Limited network of channels. And a man sitting to our right off microphone at the moment, Paul Truswell, knows all about the strategical nuances of that particular championship. And the teams that have been in that championship for long periods of time tend to be able to get the really complex strategy decisions right because they've experienced those scenarios several times in the past. So it's, you know, a bit like the stock market, time in the game is really, really important. The good thing for us following along here on 91.2 FM and on RS1 around the world is that we just have absolutely no idea how this one's going to shake out. With an hour and 52 minutes to go, we're not a million miles off half race distance already. And
no, true.
Try to summarise the first half. Impossible task. Impossible.
I need to watch it another 5 times to fully work out what's happened to each individual car. The race leader's not in the clear, you know, because number 20, Philip Lindbergh, High Class Racing, is now under investigation for weaving under a yellow flag. And the 97 car, well, that's the one sadly in the wall for Cedric Ultramar, but that's also now under investigation for a pit lane speeding infringement. Doesn't really matter, to be honest, because 97's not going to finish the race, and we're far more concerned about the welfare of Cedric Ultramar. But yes, the 20 car, which is now only half a second at safety car speeds ahead of August Raymer, might be about to head for some hot water. And the thing is, the way that the safety cars now are groomed, there's a huge gap back to the third place car of Lucas Fluxer. They're not in the same safety car line. And your argument about not doing a pit stop because you'll lose track position, you will lose your position in a safety car train. So you're guaranteed to drop back to the next, and possibly the one after that, actually.
And that's the bit. What you really don't want to happen is to lose your train completely and have to go, and you effectively miss your train and you have to wait for the next one. It's like being on the London Underground sometimes. There's nothing frustrating than that when you see the doors shut just in front of your nose. We've all been
But the
there.
next one's only about a minute behind it, depending on the time of day.
If it's late on in the day and you're needing your bed anyway by that point, yes, it becomes frustrating.
Fair point.
So I tend not to venture to London very much, so that must be honest.
I can't imagine why. I'm not a huge fan, to be honest. I mean, I'm up for a bit of tourist action for a couple of days, but that normally does me.
I went to ABBA Voyage in London in February.
ABBA Voyage?
It was great. Really good. Went with my mum, mother-in-law, my wife, stepdad. Great fun.
Can you be fooled and think you are actually watching the real ABBA band?
Genuinely, yes. Actually,
yeah, after
as long
a little
as you
while.
don't look at the screens when they go up close to their face, then it's a little bit more. For those who have no idea what ABBA Voyage is, you think, I thought ABBA retired 40 years ago. It's an augmented reality, or like a hologram almost. It's like something out of Star Trek. But it is very good fun. They've got a live band, which really adds the atmosphere in it. It's like being at a concert. And they encourage you to belt out the lyrics as loud and as badly as you possibly desire.
Kerry Cobb up in London looking after the broadcast from a technical point of view says, it's brilliant.
I knew Kerry would be a fan of that, yeah. Who knew we were going to talk about ABBA behind a safety car in this race?
Hey, that's the beauty of the Road to Le Mans event, and also 91.2 FM Radio Le Mans. Expect plenty of similar chat in the wee small hours of Sunday morning, when the race may well have settled down. Paul Trustwell's frantically shaking his head saying, no, we'll talk about the race and the race only for 24 hours solid. That's how he would want it. But we're straying off topic because, as I say, everybody is circulating at much reduced speed. No overtaking behind these safety cars for the first ever 3-hour Road to Le Mans race after an hour and 10 minutes. Your drive time behind a safety car is counting, though. So when we get to an hour and 15, or I would be happier if it was an hour and 18 minutes into the race, then we may well see some pit lane callers to get bronze drivers, starting drivers out, and silver or gold drivers in, PMAC.
That's right, we'll see then some cars maybe fade back, some go forward. I need to write a note down, actually, last point on ABBA. I need to write a note down to ask Paul at the deepest depth of night what his favourite ABBA song is. So make sure you're tuned in to 91.2 FM to find out what Paul Trustwell's favourite ABBA song is. And then we'll go back to talking about the fine nuances of the 24 hours of Le Mans.
You might have to do a quick bit of listening of their greatest hits to be fully decided on that burning question.
What would it be for you?
I don't know. I've about 10 rattling around in my head now.
Does your mother know, I think?
Yeah? That's yours.
Maybe Chiquitita.
I wouldn't have gone for either of those, but I still don't know which one yet. Anyway, Philip Lindbergh leads, but will he need to make coming for a race penalty, I wonder, on lap 14 or after that, frankly, because this potential weaving infringement under a yellow flag. Yes?
Do you think we should go down to the pits for a driver to be informed and ask Joe Bradley what his favourite ABBA song is?
As long as he's listening, yeah.
Hopefully he's listening.
Joe, ABBA chat?
Yeah, one of my funeral songs is Dancing Queen.
What, for your own funeral?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to be there to hear it. But
any other particular occasion you thought of that one, Joe?
Well, it's a floor filler, isn't it?
Well,
you know. The thing about ABBA, and
other significant events.
I'm old enough to be around when ABBA was at the forefront of their career in the 70s. You know, I remember the Eurovision Song Contest that they won, and it wasn't very hip and trendy, if that's the term, to be an ABBA fan. You know, everybody was into, rock at that time, and then punk rock came along in 76, 77, and ABBA's come more to the fore for my generation, sort of relatively recently, in the last 10 or 20 years or so. At the time, it wasn't very trendy to be into ABBA, but now I love every single album of theirs is a musical genius.
Totally
they are
agree.
Musical geniuses.
The number 7 car into the pits, that's the Nielsen Racing UN, not United Nations, I don't know what UN is, but it's the main sponsor anyway, into the pits coming from 7th position, the number 7.
Yeah, so this is Alfie Briggs, one of the drivers we caught up with during the Road to Le Mans preview, Joe Bradley and I. And as I say, unfortunately for the 7 crew, their first pit stop, I don't reckon was long enough at 2 minutes and 54 seconds. 3 minutes, you would have been absolutely fine. Safety car's going to be in this lap, I'm reading on the race control messages.
Respective lines, no overtake before the respective lines.
So safety car in at the end of lap 14. The yellows have been removed at Porsche curves, and now it's a race to get the 7 car out in time. But to be honest, with the safety cars being withdrawn at this point, with the light at the end of pit road be on red? Probably not at this stage. You will be able to rejoin the race, but it will go red fairly shortly, because the safety car train now rounding Porsche curves is going to arrive on the main straight in the not too distant future, and as soon as it crosses that first safety car line, safety car or SCA1, that is the point that pit lane entry will be closed.
I don't think
pit lane exit will be closed.
I don't think the 2 minutes 55 will have elapsed before they come through. I just don't think so. As they come through Porsche curves at the moment, good to see that we're going back racing. The incident has been dealt with, and that driver concerned is being cared for.
Road to Le Mans, the first ever 3-hour race. This is round 3 of their championship, having had a 2-hour race at Barcelona, 2 hours at Le Castellet, and that was sometime in May, start of May. And the next race after this, well, you have to wait till Spa-Francorchamps in the 3rd weekend of August. But the safety cars are all now withdrawn at the same time, and we are back to racing, coming out of Arnage, heading across the start-finish line and down the Mulsanne straight. And the various trains of cars all start racing again. So once more, there's a massive advantage for high-class racing's Philipp Lindbergh and August Reber in the number 12 Brutal Fish by Campos car. The 20 and the 12 were in different safety cars, and now that things are starting to pick up speed, it's probably something like a 2.5-minute gap for the leading duo over everybody else in LMP3. So the 3rd placed Brutal Fish by Campos car is probably looking at, well, it's a 2-minute gap. So the best chance that they've got of a result is that 3rd spot on the podium, unless something hugely radical happens in the closing 1 hour and 43 minutes. Nobody is heading down pit road just yet, so they all reckon that the hour and 15 minutes, 75 minutes is not up in their respective cars. They'll be pushing it just an extra few minutes to ensure that the relevant time for a bronze driver is done. Meanwhile, Lorenzo Innocente down the inside of the Motorsport 98 LMP3 car and prevented car 98 from turning in there. So Innocenti very late on the brakes into the Dunlop chicane, and there's been a further spin for Christian Gysi, I'm afraid to say. That's the car that was stranded in the Tertre Rouge gravel not too long ago, and now he's put his rear wheels in the gravel partway through Porsche curves. Can that 24 car leave the scene under its own steam? We'll tell you in a moment.
That's a shame. It looked like a few cars struggling with tyre temperature coming off that long safety car period. One of the drivers that caught up with Joe Bradley talked about how they should have tyre warmers in the series. It might be a good idea, actually. I know there's an additional cost to it, but there seems to be a lot of drivers really struggling to get that switch on tyre temperature when coming off a full course yellow or a formation lap, when tyre temperature is at its most important.
Yeah, well, I don't think the Michelin technology, which we're seeing in the main race, that helps out with the warming of tyres, a new compound in the World Endurance Championship for 2026, which helps that heat to be generated far quicker than the older version of the Michelin tyres, which actually was designed to be used with a tyre warmer. So it's taken until now for the tyre manufacturers to do their design process, to do their development work and catch up with the regulations. That is so often the case, but that technology won't have trickled down to the Michelin Le Mans Cup and the Road to Le Mans event. Now here come 1 or 2 pit callers, because there is now an hour and 18 minutes done. So that takes into account a first almost 3-minute pit stop when you're not on the racetrack. And some others think this is the time to get their starting drivers, to get their bronze drivers out of the cars, with Philipp Lindbergh leading the way by just 0.7 of a second over August Reber.
Steve Jans for the Bartone brothers Get Speed Mercedes at the moment leading the way in the GT3 category. Anthony Bartone has got on board already, so Steve Jans will need to get back in the car later on in the race. So they will need to keep that in mind. But Anthony Bartone and Steve Jans, winners last year of the first of 2 races, in the Road to Le Mans. Meanwhile, WRT doing a pit stop, the number 72, Arnold Robin and Maxime Robin. Now, that's going to be mighty tight for driver time, Johnny Palmer.
It is a concern for sure, unless they're planning on switching those drivers around again. But I think they're just splitting it down, not quite the middle, but giving one driver an hour and 20 just about, and then the other driver an hour and 40. But yes, it's not just a question of, as we've said, crossing the pit lane entry line at 1 hour and 15 minutes. You have to take into account the time not spent on the racetrack. WRT, though, really do know their rule books front to back. There's some damage on the rear of an RHGP car. Yes, it is. So that may well be the 86 car that has pitted for RHGP. 85 has not, but yes, Lina Bula in the 86 has come into pit lane now. Meanwhile, Lorenzo Innocenti was getting a warning flag for track limits, and the incident involving car 14 and car 72. 72 is the BMW from WRT. Under investigation for an overtake, which was potentially done off track and gaining a lasting advantage. So car 14 is the Get Speed Mercedes of Steve Yance, which was running third in the opening hour or so.
Interesting, very interesting. Also, Jean-Baptiste Simoneau is on the number 77 McLaren is back on board. So Gonzalez de Andres Martin was only in the car for a very brief period. So they're deciding to push on. Jean-Baptiste Simoneau back on board after that fantastic opening stint. Very interesting strategy play there from that crew. I wonder as well if that WRT car, Arnold Robin bringing the car in, if it had to pit maybe a lap earlier than expected, if it had a little bit of a consternation with the number 14 Bartone brothers Mercedes AMG. Lots of questions to answer as we approach half race distance. Now we're in 38 minutes to go here in this Road to Le Mans event.
And it's 91.2 FM, Radio Le Mans for 2026. Of course, we're bringing you all of the 24-hour race coverage, including a 15-minute warm-up session tomorrow, and then the big build-up to the 94th edition of the 24 Hours of Le Mans from 2:30, 4 o'clock start for the latest edition of the great race, and every single minute of that 24 hours brought to you live here on 91.2 FM Radio Le Mans, live from the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre. There is still a slow zone in place at zone 8, so that is through Porsche curves, starting at Porsche in and ending pretty much at Porsche out. Let's give you the rundown then in LMP3 currently, but remember that the 20 car, the high-class racing car, is under investigation for weaving under a yellow flag. That's driven by Philip Lindbergh, and he leads by only 0.2 of a second now over August Reber for Brutal Frisch by Campos, number 12. Then there's a big gap because of how the safety cars were deployed. So running in third position as the BMWs had a huge whack up against the wall coming over Forest S's and the rise there. And there's that with the new driver at the wheel in number 72. It's Maxime Robin who took over from Arnold Robin, and that was his outlap. So on cold tyres, as now there's a car stopped on the pit lane entry road, and it might actually have been the sister car to number 71, which is the other Rinaldi racing car. It was certainly a similar paint scheme. If it's not Rinaldi Racing, then might well have been the Racing Spirit of Le Mans car.
This is driver time. Stefan Aust has done his driver time and will be handing over to Felipe Fernandez-Lazar for the rest of the race. I would suspect the car comes into the pits. No driver is out comes Stefan Aust and Felipe Fernandez-Lazar looking to go in, and a car has broken down
this is
on the entry to the pits.
This is the one I was trying to identify, and it looked like similar colours to Rinaldi, but I don't think it is. It's one of the LMP3 Pro-Am cars.
Spirit of Le Mans, maybe?
Yeah, that was half my guess. It's a car that has done the second sector. Yeah, it might be Christian Gysi, because, of course, he'd had that moment at Porsche curves with the rear wheels in the gravel, so his middle sector was very slow, and he hasn't completed the final sector either. So it's the right colours for Christian Gysi's Racing Spirit of Le Mans car, and a very much a shame that his co-driver in 24, who is Oscar Christensen, is having to wait even longer now to get at the wheel of that car. Here's the order in LMP3 Pro-Am prior to the stops then. GG Classics now lead, number 58 for Fraser Ross. Ariane Boulin for 35 Ultimates just gone up to second because of the pit stopping. Stefan Aust in 71 for Rinaldi and Daniel Goldberg for M Racing number 78. They are third and fourth with Michael Hove in fifth. Remember, the 49 car was the car started by Andrew Rackstraw and Michael Hove took it over. And in GT3, it's an awkward time to give you the order here because there are pit stops taking place again. But the Anthony Bartone Get Speed number 14 car that he shares with Steve Yantz is leading from Gonzalo de Andres Martin for SMC Motorsport. Jean-Baptiste Simonard led the class for McLaren, and SMC are now running in second ahead of United Autosports' Michael Berg for number 95. Let's go back to the pit lane for an interview informed by Driver Database, and here's Neil.
Sorry, user error there. I hadn't switched on the microphone properly. I'm just having a word watching Stefan Aust take his helmet and his earplugs out. Stefan, talk us through that first half of the race. It's quite chaotic.
Yeah. There were so many issues, so many accidents. It was, let me say, horrible, okay? But really, it was a really nice race. I'm very happy with my first stint. So we are good now on P3 or P2, I don't know. We want to go on the podium, so that's our target.
And that being the target and the work you've done in the first half of the race, do you think that's possible now? You've had a driver change? Tell us about your teammate.
My teammate is much better than me, so to be honest. I think so, yes. He's very fast here. He was very fast yesterday in the qualifying. I think he was on P3 overall. So I keep my fingers crossed for him. I think it's good.
And with your experience, do you think experience counts to be able to navigate such a chaotic first 90 minutes?
Sorry?
The experience as a driver helped you to get to this position now?
Yes, yes, definitely. You must keep calm. It's you can see it if you see the first young guns. They have no time. They're always in a hurry, and it's a 3-hour race, an endurance race. So you must step by step bring your race on. So
we know that your teammate is very quick. You've done a great job. Thank you, Stefan.
Thank you so much.
Stefan Aust then getting out of his LMP3 Pro-Am mount in the number 71 car and handing over to Felipe Fernandez-Larza. I mean, he's being quite understated there and very kind probably to Felipe Fernandez-Larza. He's quite a bit quicker than me. I mean, that is a massive understatement. A former winner of the 24 Hours of the Nürburgring for Ferrari Fricadelli.
That's right. In 2023, that emotional day, I'll never forget it. Alongside David Pittard, Nicky Katzberg and Earl Bamber, and getting the first ever win for Fricadelli after 20 years more with Porsche, and they've switched to Ferrari. Big shock, and got the win, and it was huge for Felipe's career. He was on the road to Le Mans with Michael Fassbender, but his FIA driver grading changed from silver to gold, and that meant that he couldn't fulfill the seat that he'd been elected for. So great to see him back here at La Sarthe, and knows those LMP3 cars really well. Has driven with Klaus Abelin a lot with Fricadelli in one of those cars before. That WRT BMW a few moments ago will be amazed if that car gets away without any big damage. The Michelin tyre getting actually pushed off the rim. Car is being pulled off the jacks though. WRT have got it fixed quickly, and what a strong, as some rally drivers say, she's a strong bus.
Yeah, too right. And the thing is, they're again doing one of their long stops now because the car could be sent at this point. It doesn't exactly look brand new, but the tyres have been changed, and the Lollipop Man is just standing there waiting for 2 minutes and not quite 55 seconds to go, because you need to have timed how long it takes for your car to travel from your pit stall to the end of the pit lane. Might be, as one of the wheel nuts has gone through a burn there from the ANS car, and that may also come with a penalty for not controlling all of the equipment during a pit stop, because it went rolling towards the GG Classics number 58 car, which is leading in LMP3 Pro-Am. The 9 car is in non-Pro-Am, so just straight LMP3. And this is the car of Maxwell Dodds, number 9. Were they able to find another wheel nut and indeed pick up the one that's gone rolling several metres in front of them?
And one of the other team's mechanics very kindly managed to control it on their foot like a Premiership midfielder. Really impressive stuff there, and I'm sure it'll be returned. The thing is, because they're metal, it just kept bouncing and trundling its way down the pit lane before it was brought under neatly by another team's mechanic.
It's at 91.2 FM, Radio Le Mans for 2026, and we're bringing you live, as it happens, coverage of the first ever 3-hour Road to Le Mans race. This is race 3 of their championship season, but it's also the chance to win at Le Mans. So in isolation, this is a huge race as well, and we're now at exactly half distance on 91.2 FM. The race leader in the main class is Brutal Fish by Campos. In fact, they are first and second, and with 90 minutes to go, let's head back to Neil Cole. You're down with RHGP.
Yeah, RSGP, we've just watched Enzo Peugeot getting into the number 85 car and Daniel Frost get out. Daniel, is that your driving done for this race now?
Yep, it's done now. We've done a full stint, so we did 2 stops, 1 mandatory and then another mandatory plus driver change. And for me, I'm done, and now we get Enzo back in the car.
And for you personally and for the team, how was that stint?
Personally, I thought it was okay on the start. We made a position and we kept the car in one piece, which was the most important. And then we tried to do an opposite change to what Campos was doing to try and win some time. And unfortunately, it didn't turn out well. We've lost a few spots, but we are gaining it back on the track, and yeah, we were making some good progress. And then now we're seeing if we can do another strategy to try and win back more time.
So that's the interesting thing, isn't it? Because this is a 3-hour race for the first time, these strategies are not easy to plan ahead.
Yeah, for sure. It's super different compared to the other rounds that we're doing. Le Mans is very special and will always be special, and I enjoy being here. But for sure, we have to take every advantage we can. It's not where you qualify and you finish the race. That's kind of how it usually goes. But here, that's definitely strategy and knowing the timing of things and learning how you can take advantages of the slow zone and yeah, and that kind of stuff. And we're hoping that we can, get back to where we were before.
Obviously, it's a very quick driver change. Were you able to share any information with Enzo, and what do you look to Enzo to do now?
I think Enzo he knows what he's doing, and but for sure, I did tell him through the radio that there is a lot of advantages through the slow zones. So we are trying to maximize that, and yeah, I'm sure he will figure it out once he gets in the car.
Okay, thank you very much. Well done, Daniel.
Yeah, thank you.
Daniel Frost from the 85 RHGP car. They are the championship leaders with, albeit only 2 races of the Michelin Le Mans Cup that have happened already, but consistency is key, and they're trying to get a top 10 finish where possible. Been very impressed by Enzo Peugeot in the small amount of time I've been watching him, both with the microphone in front of his face, if you like, how he presents himself, but also out on the racetrack. He's topped a lot of sessions already this year, and he and Daniel Frost, you can be at least 2 silvers in LMP3. There's no requirement for a bronze. And what we're finding, PMAC, is a lot of guys who've cut their teeth in single-seaters now working their way into the 2-seater sports car world just for a bit of variety and give them an option if they can't progress up the single-seater ladder.
I think it's very prudent indeed to have that potential to move up the ranks. There's an investigation going on for a collision between the number 45 high-class racing Porsche, the 51 AF Corsa Ferrari, and the 95 United Autosports McLaren. So a 3-car incident being looked into by race control at the moment. Very brief point on, I mentioned the Nielsen car with UN on it, not the United Nations. Thanks to Duncan Vincent, he's driver database informed. Unconventional AI is what it stands for, which is the CEO is Naveen Rao, prototype racer. So there you go, that seals up that one. We now know what UN is.
Wonderful. Good bit of research.
Can you rest easy now?
Yeah. There's going to be a drive-through penalty for car 55, which is the AF Corsa Ferrari. And that car was in strife at the Ford chicane a little while ago. What I don't know is whether they've done a driver change in that car yet to rotate their drivers. You can have done that by now, of course, because we're well over the drive limitation, minimum 75 minutes. But some teams have already chosen actually to get their first driver out after about 50 minutes, 5-0. And then in those scenarios, you do have to get a replacement driver in. It would be Tommaso Posca to replace Piovanetti in his Ferrari number 55, if that were to happen.
Which has just had a drive-through penalty.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Precisely why I was talking about it.
Sorry,
no, it's okay. If you're doing a drive-through, of course, you can't then do a normal pit stop attached to that. It has to be an entirely separate visit to pit lane. And car 55 will be appearing on pit road in the not-too-distant future to serve that. You normally get 3 laps to be able to come in and do a drive-through penalty. So Brutal Fish leading by almost 2 minutes over the sister car, August Reber versus... Well, Lucas Fluxer, I was about to say, but that car now has lost a lot of ground. No, it's okay, it was a transponder issue. Briefly there, Fluxer is dropping down the order and then he's popped back up again. So it might be that Alcamella having to put that car in semi-manually, but the number 19 car is still running ahead of the others on the road. He's got an 8-second gap over South African racer Mikael Pitamba for Nielsen Racing. But the win for this race, barring any major issues for the 12, it's kind of all been won by Artur Rodjan because he had such a gap of 22, 25 seconds that when the 3 safety cars were deployed, that did him a massive favour by driving a huge wedge between he and actually the 20 car at the time and everybody else. Since then, the 20 car has pitted. Lenny Reed's taken that over, another son of Christian Reed, and that number 20 car has slotted into 8th position.
They're certainly busy at Le Mans week, aren't they, the Reed family? Everybody between Jonas, Lenny, Christian, running cars, driving in cars, there's all sorts going on. No wonder Christian stopped driving.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have
Too
the
much
time.
management.
Yeah, exactly so. Up in 7th overall right now with the way that the pit stops are cycling out is the leader in GT3, the Get Speed Mercedes of Anthony Bartone, winner last year in race 1 of this event when it was split into 2. But we'll need to hand back to Steve Jans because Steve Jans has not completed his minimum driver time yet. So that will maybe be done at the next stop. And the gap is coming down in LMP3 Pro-Am as well, Johnny. Michael Hove is clicking along at his pace, but the drivers behind him are charging. The DKR Engineering number 3 of Quentin Antonell going very quick, or as is Felipe Fernandez Lazar in that Rinaldi Racing number 71. So the Porsche Leipzig instructor flying at in that Rinaldi Racing machine.
Race leader now at the top of the hill through Dunlop Curve and underneath the Goodyear Bridge. He's descending towards the Forest S's. And this is August Reber, the 17-year-old Swede who took over from his teammate Artur Rodjan. And I think Artur is generally the quicker of the 2 drivers, but there's not a great deal in it. And actually, going against that theory, a personal best for the car for August through that first sector, which he's managed to do in 36.2 seconds. More repair work to the back of an LMP3 car, and that is making sure that each of the 2 bullets are present. They carry the rain light, they carry the tail light, and they're just a good aerodynamic device as well. So in order to pass scrutineering at the end of the race, both bullets have to be present, and they are now attaching on the back of the 62 the Pro-Am Championship leading car with cable ties, with tape, with anything that might work, that rear left bullet.
There's a lot of crews have paid attention to that part of the car. It seems to be a weaker point on these cars, and considering often how many of them are in close quarters with each other wherever they race around the world, it might be something that when the new generation of LMP3 comes along, when it's next evolved, that rear of the car perhaps needs a little bit of extra strengthening, because it does seem to be a bit on the fragile side.
Yeah, the problem is we're only just into a new generation of LMP3 cars as things stand, and they did address that. I mean, I forget which of the two it was, either Ligier or Duquesne, but even in the marketing they said the bullets are a lot stronger on these cars, or they're easier to replace. But the problem is it depends where they snap and break and buckle. How much have you then got to attach a new cheese wedge to? And a lot of them are very vulnerably placed as well. Brutal Fish by Campus, first and second in LMP3 Pro-Am. Canton Antonel for DKR Engineering. Well, he was way up in the non-Pro-Am times during qualifying, so Antonel is a big talent, 1.6 seconds ahead of Felipe Fernandez-Laza in number 71. And the Get Speed Mercedes of Anthony Bartone is currently leading by almost a minute over the second place GT car, which is the SMC Motorsport McLaren. Let's go down to pit lane for a driver database informed pit lane report, and welcome to the race, Nick Damon.
Hello Johnny, hello listeners. The number 49, the high class racing P3 of the Pro-Am class, rolled into the pits. The fueling man confidently began to try to think about attaching the nozzle, and then he was waved off by the lollipop man because the car was too far to the left. It was too much into the running lane. It's a very, very narrow amount of gap they have to actually get these cars in, because obviously the fueling rigs are in front of the existing Le Mans pits, which narrows down the pit lane, so you can't sit too far away. And so they then do this huge amount of forward and back movement by the mechanics just to get the car close enough to the actual Bowser to not be annoying anybody. They've done I think they've done a drive change as well. There's like a lot of tape on. They've had to go and look over this car. I have no idea where the 49 is, but this pit stop will not have helped things. In fact, they were going to go, and now they're not. Oh, they left something at the front of the car as well. So not a classic they'll want to see again, that one for the 49 car.
Battle is getting really tight for the lead in LMP3 Pro-Am, with Quentin Antonel leading for DKR Engineering, but only by a second and a half from Rinaldi Racing's Felipe Fernandez-Laza. Meanwhile, a few moments ago, the number 3 DKR Engineering car in the lead of category. Quentin Antonel bouncing over the curbs, coming through the Forest S's and towards Tete Rouge. And actually, funnily enough, was popped for track limits there. And yes, it did break the track limits, but definitely not an advantage gain. But I hope that they haven't damaged anything underneath the car there.
Unsurprising for me is that Enzo Peugeot is now the fastest driver out there. He topped a couple of free practice sessions, at least one of them anyway, earlier on in the week. And the young man, Frenchman, I don't think in relation to the Peugeot family. I probably should have checked that when I was interviewing him just the other day, but the 85 Arches GP crew have picked a good one there, along with his teammate Daniel Frost. The problem is that Daniel Frost had one of those stints where he ended up behind the wrong safety car, and although Enzo Peugeot could now make a bit of progress through those cars in his near vicinity, some of which, by the way, are still GT3 cars, so ahead of Enzo, 3 GT3 cars right now. And if he can get by those, obviously that means a bit of clearer traffic for him to attack people like Alfie Briggs in the number 7 Nielsen racing car, Lenny Reed in the 20 high-class car, and the BWT Muka Motorsport of Maximilian Engelhardt. It is very good to see Stefan Muka at these races, taking close watch of young drivers coming through. Had a little bit of a chat with Stefan at Paul Ricard start of last month. Very little, if any, involvement in single-seaters now, Muka Motorsport, which was a surprise to me. So he's focusing on DTM/GT3 running, and now a real area of interest is within prototypes.
He still gets behind the wheel every now and again. I remember the Nürburgring last year driving one of his old DTM cars. It was a Mercedes C-Class. Noise this thing made. My goodness, it was loud. Fantastic. An hour and 15 minutes to go then, and heading towards the business end of this 2026 Road to Le Mans race, part of the Michelin Le Mans Cup.
And with an hour and 15 minutes to go on 91.2 FM Radio Le Mans, let's head to the pits again. And Nick? Go ahead, Nick Damon.
That's impressive. Yes, I think I may be confusing myself. I've arrived at these pits. I'm trying to get the lay of the land, watching the various LMP3s and GT3s wander down the pit lane. Now, I'm just trying to get a pit stop. It's pit stop to the 99 in the P3 thing. I've misidentified entirely as somebody who wasn't. It's actually the Moore Motorsport team. And it'll be Tim Gerhard's getting in. He was hanging on the pit lane looking excited a couple of minutes ago. So came in from 6th overall in the top level. This one's actually quite a clean stop so far. For example, they actually parked it in the right place and they put the fuel in. Now they run around for the tyres. And the departing driver, who was Max van der Snel, an all-Dutch team, looking on as they get the car go. No, hang on a second, they've got a bit of a problem. They've also got an issue. I can't remember what you call them. I always call them the cheese wedges at the back. They have an errant cheese wedge as well on the right-hand side. So they are having to do a bit of hopefully you can hear the hammer. Can you hear the hammer? They're whacking away at some very expensive carbon fibre diffuser. They're going to drill some holes and they're going to cable tie the, what did you call it, Johnny?
Well, Gary Robertshaw's name for them at United Autosports was always the Bullet.
No, it's a cheese wedge. Well, much better name.
When you order them, they're called Bullets on the catalogue from an LMP3.
But hang on, I just turned the other way. I think our leader's in the pits.
Yes, car 12.
Car 12, yes. So this is the advantage of being down here. I'm going to walk too far. I'm very old, you know. So car 12 comes in. He's parked in the right place, which is a good start. Windscreen being cleared. Fuel. I don't think they're going to change drivers, though. So I think whoever's on the 12, I haven't got it in front of me, is staying on board. So there's no driver change, obviously, at the moment for that car. And they're running around now and doing a full tyre change. It's the tyres have been used before, I assume, just in qualifying. They certainly are not brand new. And the number 12 is enjoying a stop, which it doesn't involve the mending of a bullet / cheese wedge. But yeah, this one looks okay, but no driver change on the 12.
Yeah, it's interesting, Nick, that we reckon there will have to be a driver change at some point because Artur Rodgen didn't do his hour and 15 minutes, but August Reber, the Swede, is going to stay on board by the sounds of things. They'll need to do another stop anyway. They can't make the finish from here, but they'll have to make sure that there is enough time. The other thing to bear in mind is that you can't do any of these long stops in the final 20 minutes of the race. So we're already within an hour of that, with an hour and 13 minutes still to go. Let's stay in the pit lane and go to the other end, pit out, and Joe Bradley.
Yeah, the number 16 Ajit Redant car has now got a new driver, the first driver that tried that car, Ajit Kumar. Ajit, we're on the pit wall here. Your job is done, and I've got to say, congratulations for bringing a car back in one piece, because that start was absolute chaos.
Thank you so much. Like as we all know, Le Mans is probably one of the most challenging races. So personally, I'm pleased with my driving. Like I set my personal best in the race, 4:07. So I'm pretty pleased with myself.
How much quicker had you gone in the race than you had previously then? How much quicker was that?
The last time, I think more than 12 plus seconds. Yesterday, I did set a 4:10, but that particular lap was disqualified because of track limit. So I knew I could try and get into the 4:10s, but I'm happy. I mean, 4:07, personal best, first time ever at Le Mans, bringing the car back safe. It's so special. Le Mans is so special.
Job done, Ajit, and I'll leave you to take in the atmosphere. Here you are standing on the pit wall. I know exactly what you're doing.
And so back at pit entry again, the other of the brutal fish machines has come in, the 19. Again, no driver change, so Mr. Fluxer stays on board. Again, quite leisurely. I realise these are time stops, aren't they? They haven't got to do them as fast as they possibly can. He did get a drinks bottle, but he didn't get a new driver. Fourth tyre just going on now. So a completely non-dramatic stop. Behind him, the number 2, who I think is the number 2 car of Rinaldi Racing, that's come in and kind of lightly mucked up its entry and come in at an angle. However, that's the least of their worries, because you'll never guess what's hanging off the back of this thing, Johnny. Guess what's hanging off the back?
Is it a cheese wedge,
It's
Nick?
a cheese wedge. So the number 2 car also is going to need remedial. I'll tell you what, whoever makes those diffusers and cheese wedges have made some cash today, haven't they?
Yeah.
Blimey. Both the Ligier and Duquesne factories have been knocking those things out on Monday.
Yeah, and also the tools and tie wraps that they are required to try and fix them as well. There will be an endless supply of those, I'm sure, with new packets being opened even as we speak. The number 8 Duquesne has pitted at this point as well, but I can tell you that the first place car, number 20, is now pitted twice. And it does look like both pit stops for that car are good ones, as in they are slow enough at 2 minutes and 55 seconds. The 12 car, which reappears with August Reber still at the wheel, is 12 seconds adrift of the high-class racing Lenny Reed car. And it is now all about those two in LMP3, because they were the two that were separated by the safety cars, or separated more so by the 3 safety cars under that period of intervention. And we've now got a straight race between Lenny Reed and August Reber. What I can't remember now is whether we need the first driver in number 20 joining Lenny Reed back in that car or not, as the repair work continues on the rear of the number 2 car. This is what Nick Damon was describing, with the cheese wedge being reapplied.
The cheese wedge is also, it's not just the wedge, they have the lights incorporated within the wedge.
Yep. That's the main reason why they need to be present, because there's a tail light and a rain light, and I mean there's a little bit of aero there as well, but because the lights are integrated within that system, they have to be on the car at the end of the race.
And I can imagine that being part of that portion of the car make the cost of that particular product quite high.
Yeah, so when you're seeing them pinging off and going into the fields and smacking into walls, yeah, those prices are just getting racked up. And are they ever going to be retrieved and sent back to the team? Possibly not. We didn't tell you about the off-track moment for Enya Frey in the Vector Sport RLR car. That happened at Indianapolis, car number 15, running in the LMP3 category, so i.e. not the Pro-Am division. And that car's now having to be lifted from its resting place in the gravel trap. But it's Enya Frey currently. It's Geronimo Gomez who did the opening stint. That was the car that was qualified to 12th place. So again, 2 sections of the lap affected by slow zones between the 2 chicanes on the Mulsanne and the run out of Mulsanne corner down to Arnage.
The leaders in Pro-Am are near enough nose to tail going through the slow zone coming up towards Indianapolis 1 and 2. Felipe Fernandez-Laza for Rinaldi Racing trying to hunt down Quentin Antonell. They've been having a right old ding-dong battle. One lap it goes the way of Laza, the other lap it goes the way of Antonell. And both running the Ligier chassis, so same equipment underneath them. And strategy-wise, fairly similar as well. Yeah, in fact, they're on exactly the same number of laps on their stint, so could not be more equal, this battle here. You can hear, just if that's coming through on our feet, the gravel all over the road getting underneath the cars. Just sounds horrible.
Yeah, it's getting collected by hot, sticky tyres and then chucked into the higher reaches of the wheel arches of LMP3 cars, hence the rattle, but then that just spews gravel further afield and potentially onto the racing line as well. So Lenny Reed up against August Reber does not look particularly close right now, but it is there's a big question mark as to whether there is needed to be a driver change for either car. But I'm pretty sure that Artur Rodgin got out before he'd done his 75 minutes, and Rodgin was a little unsure when he spoke to Neil Cole whether he'd need to go back in or not, but he said, I will chat to my engineer. So that's the one car that could potentially win this race at the moment. The other is the 20, and that is the Lenny Reed car, which he shares with Philip Lindbergh. I seem to think that Lindbergh was in it for longer than the Artur Rodgin stint. So they'll be hoping that Philip Lindbergh has done the required time and that they can keep Lenny Reed at the wheel of the number 20 car all the way to the finish. It will need to make another stop, though, because it's only made 2. 3 stops of 2 minutes and 55 seconds required. And although some cars have been in for 4 occasions, actually, that's the Alfie Briggs Nielsen racing car, which had to serve a penalty, actually 2 penalties, I think, for car number 7. So that will explain the 2 extra stops that it has done compared to everybody else.
Out of Tete Rouge then, our LMP3 Pro-Am leaders, very, very tight. between those two. Quentin Antonell holding off. In fact, Quentin, particularly through sector 1, he's quicker than Lazar consistently through there, usually gaining a couple of tenths in that opening sector, and that's only from the start-finish line to Tete Rouge. So very, very quick there is Antonell, although he's coming up against a little bit of traffic to contend with, which may give Lazar an opportunity to get a bit closer, but Lazar misses the braking point coming into the Daytona chicane, maybe gets on the gravel. There's gravel all over the road, and into the slow zone he goes, but got the braking point all wrong there. More gravel on the road here than there was in the 20s when the Bentley boys won here in Le Mans. Just, oh, so much has been dragged onto the circuit.
Yeah, I reckon Philip Lindbergh got out of the car at 23 minutes past 11, so that's his drive time done. Artur Rodjan was getting out of his number 12 car at about 11:15, so he'd only done 45, maybe 50 minutes by the time he was handing over to August Reber. So in the final stop for car number 12, they're going to have to do a driver change, whereas the final stop for car 20, they will not. Now, I'm talking about potentially saving some time. You actually don't save time because they've all got to do 2 minutes and 55 seconds, and we don't really need to worry about the amount of fuel that has to go in either, because regardless of whether you've got a 15-minute stint or a 45-minute stint, the fuel nozzle goes on, it goes off again, but you can't send the car to the end of the pit lane short of that 2 minutes and 55 seconds. The SMC Motorsport McLaren is now exiting Tete Rouge. Would you believe this car is now third overall?
Remarkable. It's only done one pit stop so far. So a couple of pit stops still to do for the Gulf McLaren. We did think that Simoneur had got back on board, but I think it was a driver ID issue. So Gonzalez de Andres Martin is putting in his driver time at the moment and will hand over at some stage to Jean-Baptiste Simoneur, but they need to pit twice between now and the end of the race. So that might throw them back into the clutches of another McLaren, Michael Birch, for United Autosport. They have they have done their pit stop. So actually, I would say, Johnny Palmer, that your net leader effectively in GT3 is actually United Autosports and their McLaren. They're actually ahead of the Bartone brothers. Gets beat Mercedes, but they've only done 2 pit stops. So United looking good for a win here in GT3 if they can keep it clean.
Yeah, so on course right now for a very good finishing position. Both McLarens have been doing outstandingly well, and Anthony Bartone sharing with Steve Yance doing his level best as well. I'm now frantically searching through the regulations to make sure of something, because Nick Damon has just spotted one car doing a shorter type pit stop, and I'm making sure that there has to be 3, and they all have to be according to this minimum pit stop reference time, which is separately published awkwardly, so I then have to seek out an additional document. Oh, here we go. Right, at least 3 pit stops respecting the pit stop reference time must be completed before 2 hours, 39 minutes and 59.999 seconds. So that is the first 2 hours and 40 minutes of the race. You have to have done 3 pit stops that are 2 minutes 55 seconds, and therefore everybody, if they have not done 3 stops yet, has another 40 minutes pretty much to do that.
Into Europol competition, their last pit stop, 1 minute exactly. So that's nowhere near it. The one that Nick Damon noticed down in the pit lane. There is another that was on 2 minutes 54, which is the ultimate number 5 of Gilles Zero in LMP3 Pro-Am. So that will not hit the mark either. So yeah, minimum pit stop time playing a factor here.
What I'm going to check now is, did the 34 car have some sort of longer stop and go penalty to serve, which would have been done in the team's apron area. Can't see 34 in the list actually from race control, so that wouldn't explain it. Yeah, but it wasn't. They actually stopped with the team.
Yeah.
By the sounds of things. Yeah, it stopped in the pit box for, I don't know, 20 seconds or so. If the total time in the pits was a minute, must take you easily 30 seconds to traverse the pit lane here. That's a useful topic to look up for tomorrow's main race as well. How long does it take to do a drive-through penalty? Although you wouldn't necessarily lose all of that time compared to a rival because you are still moving. Lenny Reed leads by 6.4 seconds over August Reber. So high-class racing in the 20, Brutal Fish by Campus in the 12, and then actually Gonzalez de Andres Martin is doing a good job in catching those two cars up because he's now only 25 seconds away from August Reber. 90 seconds adrift is Lucas Fluxer for the other Brutal Fish by Campos crew. And in LMP2 Pro-Am, there's only 3.5 seconds between Canton Antonel in the DKR Engineering number 3 and the 71 of Felipe Fernandez Larza. GG Classics, who did lead the race earlier on, now have George Nakas at the wheel, and George Nakas running in 6th position. The other kid to look out for is Julien Henrion, who's been doing so much winning in ACO rules racing. He was a Ligier European Series champion. He was a champion then in LMP3 at this level, as now the Inter-Europol competition car. Now, is that the 34 rather? No,
yes.
It was the 43. So it was actually Sean Rashid who Nick spotted doing the minute-long pit stop, and that doesn't explain it because that was the other Inter-Europol competition car, William Carlson, having a moment at the Ford chicane.
Bizarre. All not well at Inter-Europol competition.
No.
They've had a great couple of years here at Lassar. 2 LMP2 wins on the spin. And I bet we were talking about it, we need to go and see what the buns are like in their hospitality, because of course they are a big bakery firm.
Massive in Poland, yeah, Inter-Europol. So just about one of the biggest going, but they used to have a hashtag which was not just a bakery coming here to Le Mans, because they were in those days making a name for themselves as a racing crew. And consistent winners now at LMP2 level. One of the cheese wedges, one of the bullets, has ended up right in the middle of the racetrack at karting/Corvette corner. So that is near the end of the lap, close to Marshall post number 33. And there are local yellows. It's a double waved yellow at Marshall post 33 with a slow zone procedure prepared. But now the message on the screen is that slow zone is cancelled. So we're going to stay predominantly green, just one area that is double waved yellows. Just to warn everybody of a change of surface, i.e. there's a bullet sitting right in the middle of the road.
Fromage at Marshall Post 33, dearie me.
I don't know what the French for wedge is, but you can Google that. Fromage is pretty easy, but and whether it actually translates, I'll ask Patrick Trottat, one of our fabulous French families who we stay with every year, whether there is an equivalent of a cheese wedge direct translation.
Morceau de fromage.
Morceau
de fromage.
The morceau de fromage, we can call it from now on. I might allow Nick Damon to butcher that in his franglais.
Or ballet, which is bullet.
Okay. Yeah,
I prefer morceau de fromage, personally.
Yeah, easier to trip over, mind you, and particularly if you're coming out of Corvette corner right now, because there's one right in everybody's path. 4 seconds the gap between Quinton Antonel and Felipe Fernandez Larza, first to second in Pro-Am. So that's car 3 and car 71. And actually, did the Morceau de Fromage get collected? It certainly did, by one of the 23 Events cars. That's the number 5. 23 Events Racing have a partnership with AF Corsa for this year, and I think some of last as well. That's the reason why the Italian Tricolore colours run on a French car, because they are almost a development team for future AF Corsa pilots. So those that are being picked up at maybe 16, 17, 18 years old, 23 Events Racing give them the platform to perform. And the guy down at 23 Events who had a quick chat with 2 days ago saying he's on the phone to Amato Ferrari 2 or 3 times a week with an update from their crew. So that is a big partnership that we should be paying attention to.
Wow, and they've had more than 23 events in this one race alone. They've had a pretty busy day out there. Jean-Baptiste Simoneur preparing to jump aboard the Gulf McLaren as his teammate Gonzalez de Andres Martin goes through the Dunlop chicane and underneath the Goodyear Bridge. Total fever overloads with the Gulf livery on the McLaren, harking back to the long tail McLaren F1 GTRs. Makes you want to just slap on some slap on some Davidoff aftershave, which was one of the sponsors on that car at the time.
So it is, or so it was. Tête Rouge, the 77 SMC Motorsport car then, out of the fast right-hander and onto the Mulsanne once again. We're inside the final hour of the first ever 3-hour Road to Le Mans race. Friday afternoon now, we could say, with a scheduled finish of 1 o'clock. The podium, by the way, it's going to be quite a wait for anyone who finishes on a podium, either in LMP3, LMP3 Pro-Am or GT3, because the podium after a 1 o'clock finish is not actually scheduled until 4 o'clock. So you can go out and explore Le Mans city centre if you wish and go a bit downtown, although, well, there's plenty happening there, of course, today with the parade ahead of the main race. I think because there's so much track action arranged for the rest of the day, the podium could only be squeezed in much later on this afternoon. Michael Berg in the chasing McLaren is a good couple of minutes back now after that recent pit stop for the United Autosports number 95. Anthony Bartone still looking good for a podium though, although Valentin Haas-Clos will be one to look out for. He's in the 3-minute 57s. Bartone 3-minute 59 last time around. That gap is only 13 seconds. So Haas-Clos trying his level best to get the number 10 on the podium. They are currently leading the championship car 10 in the GT3 ranks.
Interestingly, the last pit stop for the leading McLaren in GT3, Gonzalo de Andres Martin, 4 minutes 10.
Yeah. Yeah. Now,
because I did think they were in dominant form and now are looking in a bit of dire straits as far as the wind's concerned.
That goes some way to explain his overall position as well, as third place in amongst a load of LMGT3s. So he's done one stop when everybody else behind him has done two. The exception is the United Autosports car, but they, I think, have had a couple of penalties to serve as well. Michael Berg is now in for United Autosports, surely to do their final 2-minute and 55-second stop.
Right. And
that will tick off their third and final, whereas the SMC Motorsport car has only done one, and it spent well over a minute longer in pit lane. 95 Aston Martin in the papaya and black livery. Remember, McLaren are going to be back at the 24 Hours of Le Mans next year in the hypercar class with United Autosports running that programme. Very exciting because we're eating with United Autosports this week to see the papaya jackets at meal times, all in preparatory mode then ahead of 2027. Let's go back to Nick Damon for an update from the pit lane.
Yeah, we've got the second place from Pro-Am, the number 3 machine of DKR Engineering, shared by, if I can read, Angie Ramo and Quinton Antonell. They've done everything and are now sitting there waiting for the 2 minutes and 55 to wind down. No driver change, so it's quite a strange situation as everyone's just sitting back and having a collective metaphorical fag, obviously, cigarette, sorry, for our American listeners. I think the 99 is going to be in trouble because they may be in cheese wedge trouble because they are about to go to pits again. I've never seen so many officials gathered around one pit. There's about 4 ELMS liveried pit lane marshals down there and scrutineers saying, I really think you need to do something about your car. In fact, I'll tell you exactly why, because the number 99's cheese wedge, they've just come in and the wedge has fallen off again. I think it may well have been their wedge in the middle of the road, because their wedge, which was stuck on last time, is now off again.
The 77 SMC Motorsport McLaren finally pays its dues for its second pit stop. Gonzalo de Andres Martin will hand over to his teammate, who's already, he's the driver who started the car, climbing back in, Jean-Baptiste Seminar, who drove really well. Now, this strategy of waiting till within, what are we? We've only got another, coming up to half an hour window before this car will have to pit again. You're not allowed to pit stop within 20 minutes of the checkered flag, so we're just about half an hour away from that window. So, yes, this strategy is getting this car talked about. It's, would you believe, this GT class car is up to third place overall, which is quite incredible. However, it's kind of a distorted kind of position in the field because other teams around it are pitting for their third and final time. This car will have to come back into the pits and have another pit stop. What that pit stop will consist of, other than sitting there for 2 minutes 55, remains to be seen. Whether they change tyres, there's been no refuelling going on at this point. We have changed tyres and driver, like I say, so we're just sitting here watching the clock tick, and then this car will reveal all by the time we get to the checkered flag.
The 99 and because I think cheese wedge gate, or was it more so de fromage or something, is quite important. Now, but the reason they've been called in, A, because they lost their wedge, but what's happening now, the reason that the scrutineers and the pit lane marshals are very, very keen on what's going on is because what happened is they've actually got safety stays on the cheese wedge. So there's a wire connector, so a tether effectively, which means if it does break, and obviously they're being hit and they are breaking, it doesn't then fall off, it just flaps around a bit, looks embarrassing. I don't think the 99 refitted their tether last time when they fixed it about 20 minutes ago, hence the reason they now have engineers who are checking the tether fix. One of the issues being the mounting point for the tether is also broken, so now they're trying to work out with the officials a tethering method for this cheese wedge that they're actually happy with, which appears to be a combination of, unsurprisingly, tie wraps and a slightly adjusted mounting point. So yeah, it's interesting. This whole, difficulty of getting these legality panels attached properly has obviously caught the eye of the officials, and they're making sure you can't go out with it just taped up and hoping for the best. It's got to be actually properly attached and theoretically quite safe.
Nick Damon and Joe Bradley with their pit lane reports, informed by driver database. We now need to look up the French word for tether to add to morceau du fromage, which is the French for cheese wedge. Aston Martin number 10 coming down pit lane, followed by the 51 Ferrari. Let's get back to Joe Bradley, because Joe, it's looking pretty busy in pit lane because everyone's realised they've only got 30 minutes now to make their final stops.
Yeah, I'm just checking your name because it's really long, Gonzalo.
With camera or speaker?
No, we're okay. We're on radio to the world.
Radio, right.
Yes, and to the vicinity. Gonzalo de Andres Martin. This is a very strange, I think, strategy. Second pit stop, very, very late. What is the thinking of behind this?
Yeah, I am very happy racing this special circuit. My teammate Jean-Baptiste is a very, very good now this circuit, and the strategy is different, and I think it's good, but I have many time.
You were third overall when you brought that car in. That's quite an achievement.
Yes, very, very good strategy, but I think possible anything in the finish race.
Thank you, Gonzalo. Muy bien.
And down at pit entry, we have the 12, the erstwhile, well, it was the leader prior to the previous set of pit stops from Brutal Fish. They have got a driver change. Arthur Rogion is getting back into the car, so you were right, Johnny, he has a few minutes still to do. The co-driver skulks away. It got very, very busy. Absolutely. Suddenly everybody realised that it was time. I need to ask you a question about the road to Le Mans, actually, just from my personal memory. Do they normally do fuelling in the races which are outside Le Mans? Are they normally fuelled races or not?
Not at Le Mans, no. That was the whole point.
But in the races that...
The support in the normal ones, yes, they do, because they're 2-hour races.
I just wonder, because a number of people seem to have fire suits on which aren't theirs. Like they've suddenly gone, oh, we've got to wear fire suits, have we?
Okay. Well, you see, some are one-off appearances, so that they might be invitational entries, and therefore teams that aren't used to doing pit stops in their normal championships. We certainly have a lot more than the regular lineup, although it's pretty healthy in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. We have 58 cars, though, for today's race.
I suspect we're seeing such a rush to the pit lane because at the moment we've got a slow zone in most of the first sector, all the way down through Sector 2 and quite a bit through Sector 3 as well. So the track is not a fast one at the moment. So everyone taking their chance to take, in some cases, that final pit stop. Now, a question on the pit times, Johnny. For that McLaren that's gone to 4 minutes 10 on one of the pit stops, does that mean they can then go shorter on another? Does every pit stop has to be 2:55 minimum?
That's the problem. I mean, I wondered whether SMC Motorsport were actually aggregating the time, so 3 times 2:55, and then you can just split it however you like. But that's not how the rules are written. Okay. You've got to do 3 stops minimum, and each one has to abide by the minimum pit stop time. So the 4 minutes 10 is a real mystery, and I genuinely think that was a mistake. and now the SMC Motorsport car has done 2 stops, 2 minutes 56, so that's bang on. The 4 minutes 10 is an anomaly, definitely, and then you've got to do another 2 minutes 55 before 20 minutes to go in the race. Nick Damon was shouting in my ears. Are you seeing more things to report down in the pit lane?
I believe I was talking at a normal rate, actually.
Okay,
so no, the other one, the Brutal Fish Machines, is in. This is also a full service, so which means that Matthias, I need to find his surname, number 19, Matthias Weiber's getting in, the Slovakian, and Luca Flaxacross has got out as well. They are putting brand new tyres on this one. It's most tyres I've seen so far. Brand new fronts, scrubbed rears are going onto this one. So they are enjoying a bit of fresh rubber for the last 45 minutes. So they're going to give it a good old go. And I think they came in top third, but of course with this, ow! I'm just throwing. I just had the air jack thrown at me.
Oh, an air jack thrown at you?
You're
standing in the wrong place.
You know the pipe which they put the jack up with? So I'm standing quite a long way back on the inside. He just lobbed it at me. Right, I don't want him to win. So that's a 19.
What number was that? 19?
19.
Okay, I don't think they're going to win, actually.
No,
but Brutal Fish by Campos may well do. The sister car, I know. But the 12 car has the better chance. The 19 is going to descend to 7th position. But yeah, all of a sudden things have gone a bit wrong for Artur Rodgen. Although it was a 2 minutes 57 pit stop. No, they haven't gone wrong because the 3 cars ahead of them on the road are yet to make their 3rd and final stops. So even though the 12 Brutal Fish cars drop back to 4th, it should again be leading the race just as soon as number 20 High Class Racing, number 8 BWT Muka Motorsport and number 4 Nielsen Racing make their 3rd and final stops.
10 seconds added to the next pit stop for the number 9 car that sits in 5th, the ANS Motorsport machine. Pit stop infringement now. That car, oh no, it does still need to make its 3rd pit stop. Also drive-through penalty for the number 35 Ultimate car in LMP3 Pro-Am, which is running 6th in category at the moment. So that's going to make it difficult to make a charge for the podium with that hanging over them. But while the pit cycles are going through, Rinaldi Racing, number 71, Felipe Fernandez Lazo has moved up into the lead in LMP3 Pro-Am, but the car they were battling with, the DKR Engineering car, has done 3 stops. Oh, crash for one of the Ferraris, number 83, AF Corsa. Is that Charles Fagg?
Yes, it could be. We caught up with him earlier on in the week, Joe Bradley and I, as part of our preview show, and is Charlie Fagg involved in the incident in the number 83 car? That will be another outlap if it is the case. He's certainly in an AF Corsa Ferrari. The other car for AF Corsa is Tommaso Mosca, who is also on an outlap. Now, what does it's number 83 being indicated, so that is Charlie Fagg. You're spot on, P-Mac.
Oh, and just coming out the pits. Just coming out the pits, and the tyre temperature wouldn't be up into its optimum. It's not a warm day, but it's not a cold day here at Le Circuit de la Sarthe, but maybe the tyres just not quite in their window. They're running the H2 Michelin, which is a hard compound, which at 18 degrees Celsius, it's not in its working window.
He's been right down the Armco barrier and stripping a lot of the CrowdStrike banner with him. I mean, not the first car to end up there, in fairness, because there were a lot of the Porsches in the Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil ended up in that sort of vicinity, and in this race alone, we've had a number 10 Aston Martin pretty close to that scene too. So Charlie Fagg just running out of road, coming over the rise and underneath the CrowdStrike banner bridge there. And he's parked up on the left-hand side. That car's going no further and is covered currently by a slow zone at slow zone number 2.
This could be perfect timing for the number 71 Rinaldi Racing car, because the track is a little bit slower with more going on. The Rinaldi Racing car is coming through Porsche curves at the moment, Marshall Post 30, so they might be able to come in and get their pit stop done while the track is in a slower state. So game on in LMP3 Pro-Am. I mean, it's been a little bit more dominant in LMP3 overall, but the Pro-Am has been super, super tight.
Lenny Reed leads overall from Matisse Plushkel. Hang on. I thought that was Gwen Boursier, our race director, but he's happy with the slow zone that is in place. So Lenny Reed leads in the 20 car from the 8, BWT 8 in second. Artur Rodgen, though, is slowly climbing back on the order because one of the cars in front of him is now just pitted, Mikael Pitamba for Nielsen Racing. So that's for its third and final pit stop.
LMP3 Pro-Am leader pits then, takes the opportunity with 40 minutes to go then. Where will that cycle out with the number 3 car, DKR Engineering, Quentin Antonell, who was super quick in the previous stint, pulling away a little bit from the Rinaldi car of Felipe Fernandez-Lazar, but has this multitude of slow zones played into the hands of Rinaldi.
Let's head back to Nick Damon, part of our pit lane crew, informed by driver database for 2026 on Radio Le Mans.
There's an issue with the 71, and I'm not even sure they know there's an issue with the 71. They've come in, they've fueled it, they thought what we're going to do, and they've been pointed at by the European Le Mans suited marshal that they have lost their left-hand cheese wedge. And I don't think they knew it. They weren't ready with it. The left-hand cheese wedge is gone. The car's obviously had a side-by-side scrape. You can see it on the tyre, so it's been in this stint, and also down the side of the bodywork. It's got a kind of drab green into metallic green. It's kind of a weird combination of colours. And that car, the 71 Rinaldi, it is not going to be coming out of the lead because they're not going to get a new cheese wedge on in time for the 2 minutes 55 because they didn't even know they needed to do one. They had no idea it had fallen off. They had no preparation. They found it now. The man has tie wraps, but this is a disaster for the 71.
And the 77 is back into the pits. Usually, that would cause a little bit of consternation in my little head because this is the car that literally has just pit stopped. I don't know how we confirm this, but I think that car has gone out having served its second 2 minute 55 pit stop. It's then come straight back in to complete its third and final 2 minutes and 55 pit stop. 55 second pit stop, that is. So this might be a bit of strategic genius. Yeah. It's losing less track time with at least one yellow zone that I can see out there. So I said we'll see how this plays out. It's quite canny how they've done this. They've just condensed the two stops into what is effectively one with an outlap and straight back in. The lights have come on. It's about ready. The 2 minutes 55 is about up. So let's see how the 77 progresses.
Well, this is what they were banking on, was either a late safety car or ideally a slow zone somewhere so that everybody else was going to be slowed up. As the 71 former race leading LMP3 Pro-Am car had a big moment coming down towards Tête Rouge, and there was a bullet left from the 71 car.
Great spot from Nick Damon. He's well informed by driver database and very observant too. The Rinaldi mechanics still working on it, and that has put the M Racing car of Wayne Boyd up into the lead of the race in LMP3 Pro-Am, and indeed Rinaldi still carry on well over that 2 minute 55. Oh, that's a podium at Le Mans slipping through their fingers.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
dear.
And you now understand why there was such a shock from the official once the news had broken down at 71 Rinaldi Racing to say, hey, you're missing a bit of crucial bodywork here, guys. They had no idea, and that is because of the semi-off-track moment from Felipe Fernandez-Lazar right in front of the Charlie Fagg crash in his Ferrari, but Felipe Fernandez-Lazar had already had his moment on the grass, which tore off the rear of the car. So Wayne Boyd is the new race leader for M Racing in Pro-Am from Julien Omrion. And in fact, Wayne Boyd has just done his best lap of the race with a 3:54.4. That's probably the best lap in class. Actually, it's not, because who's gone even quicker? Leo Robinson for Breton Racing's just done a 3:53.7. Meanwhile, Racing Spirit of Le Mans, Valentin Haas-Clos is now at the top of the shop, and Racing Spirit of Le Mans have done all of their required stops, I reckon. They've certainly done 3, and the last one was smack on the time, unlike Kessel Racing's Giacomo Alto, because that stop for number 21 was only 2 minutes and 54 seconds. So they've cut it short as well in a desperate hope to close in on the race lead. Yes, they're only 2.4 seconds away from Haas-Clos, but they haven't served enough time in the final stop, P-Mac.
Remarkable. But McLaren with the SMT Motorsports car are not out of this by the looks of things. They are behind the leading car of Valentin Asclos. They all come over the line now. They're only 3 seconds behind, so that shows you just how dominant a day they've had. They've given away over a minute in the pits, a minute and 15, and they've just made it interesting for everyone, effectively. So we're going to have Valentin Asclos in the Racing Spirit of Le Mans Aston. Those cars have been quick in the main race. The Kessel Ferrari's there for now, but may have a penalty for a short pit stop. Then you chuck in Jean-Baptiste Simoneau, who's been rapid in that SMC McLaren. It is game on in GT3.
Well, Garnet Patterson's just got ahead of Giacomo Alto in GT. United Autosports McLaren goes second. The Alto's car's going to be penalised anyway because it's a second short or thereabouts on its final stop. So that already puts Jean-Baptiste Simoneau on the podium. And now can he stay within touching distance of Garnet Patterson to make it even better than that and squeeze ahead of Patterson into second to make it Aston Martin, McLaren. But the question is, in what order are they going to finish? Because there's 1.8 seconds separating first, second, third and fourth in the GT3 category.
Fantastic stuff. Different makes, different drivers up there. It's just fantastic stuff. Valentin Asclos to win here at home would be quite a boast. And of course, doing the main race as well, one of a very few drivers actually doing double duty.
Yeah. So if you're down at Arnage now, watching cars going out, you'll see the race leader in GT3 properly with company, because Valentin Asclos in the 10 Aston Martin and has on his boot lid the Garnet Patterson McLaren, the Jean-Baptiste Simoneau McLaren, which has now got ahead of Giacomo Alto, and then the Kessel racing car of Alto, number 21, which I think is set for a penalty. Before those four cars arrive back on the main straight, just after Ford chicane, let's head down to the pit lane again to get this pit lane report informed by driver database. And Nick.
Yeah, Lenny Reed has brought in the 20 car. I didn't kind of notice it because I was looking at something else. They are, I think, we'll see how long they've been in the pits. Because I think they are waiting, they may have gone over 255. They've been for a while. There's been some patching. That car's in the walls on the left-hand side. It's already got some tape. It's got some breakage as well. I thought their cheese wedge was a little bit wobbly, and then looking at the rear of the car, it's probably okay, and they are away. So they possibly were just doing exactly 255. But the car has been in the walls, but it has gone away, and they are out and running now after their final stop.
If you're finding pictures, by the way, to enjoy alongside our radio-only commentary, I've no idea why the TV director's not covering a GT3 battle, which is nose to tail, first, second, third and fourth. They could be covered by a blanket, and they're seemingly invisible. But they're down now at Forest S's and heading towards Tertre Rouge. A stonking fight in GT3, considering we've had 2.5 hours of running already.
We're going to have to go old school circuit commentary here, aren't we, Johnny? For you off the timing screen in GT3. Fantastic with Aston Martin, McLaren, Ferrari, AMG, Porsche in there as well. Matteo Cressoni.
2.5 seconds. How far back is Steve Yanto? About 25 seconds, but he's got a fight on his hands as well, like you said, to Cressoni. He wants to drive a different manufacturer car every single year he comes back to Le Mans, it seems. He's had 4 different ones in the last 5 years, and he wasn't even in the race in 2025.
The car looks superb as well. That number 54 Dynamic GT is white and black all over. The colours of Perthshire Rugby Club. And I'm sure that's what they were thinking when they designed it. And then it just says purpose on the side, and they've got ever so slightly bronzy gold wheels on it. It looks
proper.
Superb.
Okay. Well, if only we could see it on our pictures in front of us, but we can describe it to you. No trouble. That's what Radio Le Mans is for at the end of the day. 91.2 FM around the track and around the world on radio-show.co.uk. We'll have the full race covered tomorrow and Sunday, live from the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre. Lenny Reed is on lap number 30. He's got a 10.5 second lead in LMP3 for high-class racing over Brutal Fish by Campus. Artur Rogen did indeed need to go back into the number 12 car. Lenny Reed stays on board the 20. And Luis Iglesias for ANS Motorsport, car number 9, is in 3rd position. Just getting word in my ear, and yes, now it's confirmed. Garnet Patterson now leads in LMGT3. So Valentin Hasclaux was leading. Is he about to get jumped by the second McLaren, who pulls out a line versus the BMW from WRT, which is a lap down? So that's not in the leading contention. An LMP3 car goes very wide right in front of this GT battle, but Garnet Patterson makes the jump and is starting to make a break now, PMAC.
Simonauer's not out of this, though, in that Gulf McLaren. Clearly, the 720S GT3 McLaren has a lot of pace in this race, but it's almost got a bit of a throwback to a GTE Pro battle in the 24 Hours of Le Mans from 2018, 2019, where you've got loads of different manufacturers racing with each other on the Mulsanne. As looking around the outside comes Simonauer around Indianapolis 1 and then dives up at Indianapolis 2. And Valentin Hasclaux has absolutely nothing for Jean-Baptiste Simonauer in the Gulf McLaren. Through Arnaz they come then, and Simonauer looks ahead, and it's a similarly equipped driver, the black and orange, or black and papaya if you prefer, a United Autosport machine up ahead. McLaren 1-2 here in the Road to Le Mans.
Well, Valentin Hasclaux, an ultimate professional, he's far more class than to drive into, block off a McLaren. He knew the game was up there at Indianapolis, and the two McLarens are streets ahead in terms of performance of any other GT car in this race. So Valentin Hasclaux says, you know what, podium's probably just about the best we can have, as he shares this drive with Philippe Saga. He'll also be thinking about championship, because they arrived at this race as the leaders in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. They've got to get this car to the finish, and also remember that it's 1.5 points ratio for this race, so you still get a decent chunk for finishing in third. He's got the cushion of the WRT BMW in behind him, which is not on the lead lap. That's Maxime Robin. Remember Robin's out lap where he rattled the barrier after Forest Esses. So it's amazing that BMW's got so much speed now. It's just that it lost out on the lead lap in that whole incident. Behind them is one of the Ferraris on the lead lap, Giacomo Alto for Kessel Racing, and a recovering number 51 of Eliseo Dono. Now the 51 car's actually 10th and looking to unlap itself as Dono's going to charge his way down the inside here. Probably not the best bet on a car that is on the lead lap, but unfortunately for Giacomo Alto, I reckon there's a penalty going their way for being too short in the last pit stop.
While we're on the rugby theme, that defined liveried black and silver Ferrari of Giacomo Alto's got a bit of New Zealand All Black strip about it. Again, I'm sure that was absolutely of no concern when they were designing that, but it looks fantastic, we can report.
Black and orange flag to two cars, both in LMP3 Pro-Am. The one is the 62 car, which is way down, but did lead the championship, arriving here at Le Mans. Breton Racing and Leo Robinson, and they're going to have to come in, I think, to sort, again, a problem with the rear, no doubt with the cheese wedge. So black and orange flag for car 62, and for the 71 car. Now remember, that was Felipe Fernandez-Larza, the former class leader in Pro-Am, and they were very surprised when an official says, you've got a cheese wedge missing as well. Well, they're getting the mechanical warning flag once more, because that problem is clearly not sorted.
What a pity. What a pity for Felipe Fernandez-Larza. It was sort of strapped on and has come loose, sadly, from that Ligier number 71. Battle at the front of the field, and this is for position. Arthur Grosjean leads for Brutal Fish by Campos, but High Class Racing with some great strategy with Lenny Reed on board are 1.7 seconds behind, and they have both done their pit stops.
Let's, with 27 minutes to go, head down to the pit lane again for a couple of pit lane reports informed by driver database. First of all, Nick.
Yeah, very quick one, which is more something to hopefully be a bit discussion from you guys. I know we're enjoying using the word cheese wedge, but I've just seen 3 cars trundle down the pit lane towards Joe Bradley, all of them with cheese wedges hanging off. Now, I don't believe that's all through contact. Is it? So why are they all coming off? Is it because people are riding the curbs too much at this particular track? I mean, you follow these championships all season, Johnny. Is it a common occurrence for so many of those rear legality panels to fall off?
Unfortunately, it is. But okay. I think it's more prominent here at Le Mans because we're on a road as well. So road-going surfaces with added curbs here and there. I mean, I can tell you about the Felipe Fernandez-Larza one, which was the surprise for 71. He ran over the grass on the approach to Terre Rouge, and obviously the grass and the wheels then in relation to the bottom of the car are going to be completely out of sync, and it's very easy for that rear cheese wedge to be ripped off. But yeah, it's not unusual for both a Le Mans Cup race and the LMP3s in a European Le Mans Series race for the biggest headache for most teams is reattaching one of these cheese wedges. Joe Bradley at the other end of the pit lane.
Yeah, one of the teams that were owing us a pit stop in the 9th place is from the number 26, Breton Racing LMP3. Now the car literally didn't have a pit box to get into because the number 62, the car that is next door to it, was in for its stop as well. They've had to bring out the trolley jacks and basically swivel the car around. There is literally a LMP3 size gap that is slotted into. Yes, it's serving its pit stop, but it's another one with the, I prefer the technical term, the rear bullet on the left-hand side. That's hanging off as well. It looks, maybe the problem is that it looks like the way that these bullets at the rear are fitted and just basically hanging from very, very femmer-looking struts coming from all angles. And it's as if they're just hanging in the air behind the rear wheels, and the slightest hit over a curb or maybe the slightest nudge from behind, and the struts will deform and bend and break, and hence these bullets will come adrift and start getting dragged behind, which is what the number 26 car is having addressed now.
Yeah, like I say, the latest iteration of LMP3s, for instance, the Ligier P325, they were trying to make them more secure. But the problem, I think, the integral shape of a cheese wedge means that stuff can get in between it, or they can start to drag on curbs, and they're very susceptible to contact then, nose to tail. But it's interesting that the number 12, the Brutal Fish Campos car, has not had a cheese wedge issue, so clearly they're very strong on that car, and the high-class racing car is kept in the clear as well. Now, you were saying, P-Mac, the gap's coming down between the two McLarens in GT3, and we've got other gaps as well condensing in the final 25 minutes of the race.
Yeah, it's nose to tail completely with the two McLarens. Still led by United Autosport, but the SMC Gulf car is right behind of Jean-Baptiste Simoneur. Several cars under investigation for not obeying instructions at Marshal Post 1, and one of those cars is the high-class racing car in second place. That's 5.2 seconds behind the race leader, Arthur Rojon, who's just done a 350.2, over 4 seconds quicker than Lenny Reed on the previous lap. That's remarkable. But the two McLarens are, I mean, the Gulf car is underneath the rear wing of the Papaya and Black United Autosports car as they brake for the second chicane on the Mulsanne. Can Jean-Baptiste Simoneur bring this win back, the team having given away a minute and 15 seconds above the minimum pit time? Now, they might have had an issue they had to resolve. We don't know. But they are fighting really, really hard here for this win.
Just another thought. I can't remember exactly when that Jean-Baptiste Simoneur McLaren pitted, but did it pit under the safety car? And was it therefore waiting at the end of pit lane for the safety car train to go through? So that's why there was an extra minute or so, because it had a red light at the end of pit lane. So, and there's always an old argument, how much do you gain by pitting under a safety car versus the time you lose waiting at the end of pit road for the red light? But they're right in it now. They make no mistake about it. So you've got the young kid from Australia, Garnet Patterson, up against Jean-Baptiste Simoneur, who lives, or is certainly born, just south of Le Mans, 25 years old. Equal machinery, although probably set up slightly differently from different teams, and they're both heading into Indianapolis and Arnage right now. So
he wasn't even born when the Gulf McLaren F1 GTR, this car he's driving right now, harks back to when it raced here at Le Circuit de la Sarthe. Well, right? Actually after that for the Gulf Longtail, so but it came later.
It was pre-2000,
oh, definitely, yes.
Which is when JBS was born in 2000, as I say, fairly close to Le Mans. Let's go back to the pit lane to Joe Bradley for another pit lane update informed by driver database.
Yeah, Johnny, it was just a comment you were making about where the 77 car lost a minute. You can't make a minute up in this kind of racing. And then you kind of triggered a vague memory of that car having finished its first pit stop. It was then under some sort of safety car, and I think when we go back and analyse the race data from this, I think we'll find that is what happened there. So it might have been on paper a minute down from the pit stop time. However, track position-wise, it was right where it is. And I think this has been a really canny strategy here to take in 2 pit stops, literally back to back with a lap in between. Has proved to be the case here. However, looking on screen there, it's not all over as they go into the Dunlop chicane and head out, just getting in amongst an LMP3 car that's broken up the battle a little bit.
Yeah, because the ANS Motorsport car, which is being driven very swiftly indeed by Luis Iglesias, wanted to get through, and Jean-Baptiste Simonin saw him coming. It was a fully committed overtake, in fairness. There was actually a pass for position as well, because Iglesias wants laps back again versus a GT3 car. So it's a pass for position, as that was a huge squirrely moment for, was that the 12?
It was the race leader.
No way.
No, I tell a lie, it was the sister car. 4th place, number 19 of Matthias Reibach, going through Indianapolis 1, and the rear of the car came round. He must have been full lock, opposite lock there, to keep that car on the straight and narrow. That was nearly an aeroplane crash.
It would have been had he lost. I thought it was into Porsche curves, but and therefore I'd like to know whether that was the race leader, because I think Rebar is ahead, the 19 car is ahead of Enzo Peugeot. So this car then is still on course for a very good victory, the number 12, a brutal fish by Campos. But as I say, if that was a harem-scarer moment for Artur Rodjan, he kept it on the straight and narrow just into Porsche curves and is still 8 seconds clear of Lenny Reed. The 2 McLarens are nose to tail as well into the second chicane this time. And I called Garnet Patterson not so long ago the young kid from Australia. He was a young kid not too long ago. He's actually into his early 30s now, so he's older than the guy who's doing the chasing in Jean-Baptiste Simonauer, but still very much in his prime, and has been associated with United Autosports for a good number of years now at LMP3 level, and has driven LMP2s as well. So the dice is still on for 4th and 5th places overall. 3rd and 4th in LMP3 between Matthias Rebar and Enzo Peugeot, who continues to challenge and continues to try and force a mistake.
Peugeot on the headlight flasher there, trying to unsettle Matthias Rebar. I think Matthias Rebar may have unsettled himself on the previous lap with that enormous moment, and great save, it must be said, coming through Indianapolis 1. Really, really quick through there. But in that battle of the McLarens, they are nose to tail. I reckon a car length, maybe car length and a half as they come through Indianapolis 1 and on the brakes for Indianapolis 2. Simoner can't quite seem to line a move up just yet, but maybe just biding his time, maybe just building up a little thesis of information. Where am I maybe slightly stronger than Garnet Patterson? Where am I maybe slightly weaker? Where can I plot a move? There's 18 minutes to go. There's still time. As long as Patterson doesn't pull away, then Simoner still has time. What a battle this is.
3rd and 4th in LMP3, still very much up for grabs. So who's going to finish on the last step of the podium between Brutal Fish by Campus and RHGP, the old foes from single-seater racing, things like European Formula 3 and Formula Renault around Central Europe as well. And these 2 well-known teams from that area of motorsport have now been welcomed into the ACO rules ladder. And could that mean a future for RHGP and Campus in the big race, I wonder, with LMP2s? We are not that far away from a big rule change in LMP2 from 2028, although of course Friday of Le Mans 24-hour week is normally the press release week as well, the big press conference from the ACO, which is probably happening about now.
They announced the calendar.
Oh, is that out?
And guess where we're going?
Well, Silverstone would be the main guess, considering Motorsport News were brave enough to put it on their front page on Wednesday. Into Europol competition, went off the road, and that was able to rejoin. I wasn't sure whether that was the 43 or the 34 from a long, long way away. So is Silverstone going to be an April race?
Yeah.
Okay. So therefore, another pre-Le Mans visit.
Qatar for round 1 at the end of March, mid-April for Italy, quick turnaround to go to
still
Imola.
Going to Imola, okay.
Yeah, then in 2 weeks later, so we've got 3 races in 6 weeks to start the season. Then Belgium, Spa in the middle of May, of course here in the middle of June. And then, but only a month after Le Mans, go to Brazil, so the cars only get put straight on the boat or straight on the plane. Lone Star Le Mans in September, a couple of months off over the summer. Then only 2 weeks from Lone Star Le Mans to 6 hours of Fuji. and then you've got another 6 weeks or so, maybe a bit more, nearly 2 months until Bahrain. 9-round calendar, an extra race.
We have had 9 races in the past when we used to go to Mexico, so that's not a first, but it's been a little while. First time this side of COVID, for instance, that we've had a 9-race World Endurance Championship calendar. We're now ticking over, or have ticked over, the final 20 minutes of this race. You're no longer able to complete a long pit stop, and every team needs therefore to have 3 times 2 minutes 55 alongside their neighbours. Now the McLarens are going to be side by side going into the second chicane. Jean-Baptiste Simonau just prodded his nose to the outside line, but could not get by Garnet Patterson, who's not going to be shaken from this GT3 race lead. Comfortably in front in LMP3 Pro-Am is still Wayne Boyd for M Racing. He's got a 2-minute advantage over Julien Henrion in the Motorsport 98 car. It's only 11 seconds now, the difference between Artur Rodgen and Lenny Reed, mind you, in the overall for LMP3 honours, and it's very close still.
Whoa, contact, sorry Johnny, contact between the two McLarens, with Simonau getting into the back of Garnet Patterson, coming in through the apex of Mulsanne.
0.4 of a second between the podium positions for that final step of LMP3. So this is all going into the brain box of Jean-Baptiste Simonau, if you like, into the internal hard drive of where he is best to overtake, and he's working out that his McLaren does appear to be stronger in a lot of the key places. He thought about a move around the outside of Indianapolis in then, wide on the approach to the Indianapolis corner itself, that banked left-hander, and is he going to charge his way down the inside of Arnage? Not confident enough on the brakes. They do avoid contact this time, and he's got a tad wide, mindful of the LMP3 car that will want to get by, maybe before Porsche curves.
Just couldn't get the front end to bite there, could Simonau, going through the right-hander of Arnage. A lot of loose gravel around on the circuit, as well as his teammate looks on in the garage, the Spaniard Gonzalez de Andres Martin, who caught up with Joe Bradley a little moment ago. But coming into Mulsanne, Patterson covers the line. Simonau, I think, just maybe a little bit heavy on the brakes, a little bit late on the brakes, and nudged into the back of Patterson's number 95 car. As they come through Porsche curves, so the gap increasing to all of 2.5 car lengths after 2 hours and 47 minutes of racing. Superb.
It's going to be a penalty for car number 11. Well, warning flags as well, but I think there was a separate penalty for the number 11 car as Luis Iglesias goes quicker again. Iglesias is quite possibly the standout star of the championship to this point. An unbelievable stint in Le Castellet at the start of last month. Sadly, the A&S Motorsport driver is not being able to shine quite as readily as we might have expected in this event, but Iglesias is definitely somebody to look out for in LMP3 in the future, and he is down in 10th position in LMP3. But Matas Riba versus Enzo Peugeot is not yet decided. The gap first to second in LMP3 is actually extending a little bit. That was a much better lap from Artur Rodgen in the low 3-minute 52s, where it was almost a 3-minute 55 for Lenny Reed. So it's now 13.5 seconds between the 12 and the 20 car out front. We have less than 12.5 minutes remaining, and the fight to feast your eyes upon is definitely between those two McLarens to win the Road to Le Mans in 2026.
What a drive at the front of the field from Artur Rodgen to pull out over 12 seconds to stamp the authority on this race. Fantastic stuff there, but you're right, Johnny Palmer, it is that United Autosports versus SMC Motorsport McLaren inter-manufacture battle, if you like. Fantastic there between them, but I'll tell you what, Patterson is holding firm. Nothing that Simonau is able to do is able to break the deadlock just yet.
Also a good little tussle within LMP2 Pro-Am, so that's not done yet for the podium between DKR Engineering's Quentin Antonel and Sean Rashid. For the 34 car doing the chasing, they're coming out of Mulsanne corner now with the Luxembourgish team up ahead.
Mulsanne Corner looks a little bit more like a rally stage than a race circuit at the moment. There is gravel everywhere, all over, not just offline, it's sort of pulling onto the line a little bit as well. The drivers will be well aware of it now, but it's got to be a little bit disconcerting, particularly when you're coming into that corner with so much speed and trying to scrub off so much speed. I mean, in a GT3 car, for example, you're hitting the brakes at 165 miles an hour and trying to get it slowed down to 50 miles an hour at the apex. So there's a lot going on, and then you turn around and there's gravel everywhere as you're asking for the power again.
Steve Yance under some pressure now. This is not for the podium as things stand, but nevertheless Matteo Crisoni in the dynamic GT Porsche that you were raving about so much earlier on, PMAC, the 54 car right on the tail then of the front-engined GT car of Steve Yance, and that's the car he shares with Anthony Bartone.
Just as we mentioned the gravel at Mulsanne, there's been a slippery surface flag raised at Marshall Post 20. That is the apex point of Mulsanne. Simoner still keeping Patterson under pressure, and there's parts of the racetrack, I would say particularly the run into Indianapolis and Arnage, Simoner is quicker. Then on the faster stuff, the higher speed corners, Patterson's able to edge it out. Now that could just be a quirk of the setup, the way that these cars have been dialed in by the various crews, but also driver style as well. It doesn't get much better though. The United Autosports crew all watch on. Team owner Richard Dean glued to the television screen. Big, busy weekend for that crew.
Louis Iglesias goes faster again. We had this scenario in Le Castellet, round 2 of the Michelin Le Mans Cup, in that Iglesias' teammate had got involved in some early race squabbles, and therefore the car was in the lower reaches of the top 10. But Iglesias, I think he's only about 16, 17 years old. He's the standout star, as I've said already. 3:49.492, that's the fastest lap of the race so far. Easily missed because he's down in the 14th position now and 10th in LMP2, as Jean-Baptiste Simonauer that time through managed a quicker lap, and in fact the quickest GT3 lap that we've had so far. So Garnet Patterson is going to be pressurised all the way to the checkered flag.
Well, Patterson was actually quicker, but it was the track limits, so the lap is counted, but the quick lap won't be counted. 15 thousandths of a second between them on that last lap. That is how close it is between the two McLaren 720S GT3s. The McLaren machine that's kind of not in its first flushes of youth compared to some other GT3 cars, but proving at last here at Le Mans that it has the speed to win, that it is a good package, and particularly in a 3-hour kind of sprint race like this. I think this is really the wheelhouse of this car, I would say.
Yeah. Well, we have two McLarens in the main race this weekend as well, the 10 and the 58. Admittedly, they're not run by United Autosports or SMC Motorsport. They are Garage 59 entries, but once more, those cars are doing well in the World Endurance Championship. And I think as a car across a stint and then many stints, their driver combinations look very, very strong for a good result on both Saturday and, more crucially, Sunday afternoon. Second chicane, GT3s 1 and 2. And these McLarens have been inseparable from, well, about an hour or so ago, the 720S GT3 Evos. Ever since Jean-Baptiste Simonauer got back into the number 77 car, he's given Garnet Patterson not a moment's peace. And Patterson is going to have to have a lie down in a darkened room for a long time after this. The amount of attention, concentration this is required.
Yeah, those 4-litre flat-plane crank V8 singing going down the Mulsanne, then through Mulsanne, gravel all over the exit of the corner. And Patterson, you're right, holding it off really, really well. And the black and orange, the black and papaya, of course, the original colour of Bruce McLaren Motors, and think of the amazing creations that Bruce and his team made with they really defined the early days of Can-Am in America before Porsche came along with the 917, 10 and 30, bringing turbocharging in. And of course, what a heritage the company have in the Grand Prix racing as well. But in GTs, changed the game with the F1 in the mid-90s. winning the race overall with the F1 GTR. And great to see the brand still not just active, but really coming through with force. GT3 cars and a hypercar, the first prototype McLaren ever to come to Le Mans.
Yeah, so much history for the McLaren manufacturer, but then you can look at all the other car makers in this race and probably give good cases for those as well. This place just absolutely steeped in, well, so many reams of books that have been written about the history of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. But slowly and surely, the Michelin Le Mans Cup is building its own history, celebrating a decade this year. The first ever Michelin Le Mans Cup races were the GT3 Le Mans Cup in 2016, and then the following year LMP3s were added to the mixture. Still a fairly recent addition is the Pro element of LMP3, as the McLarens again are probably a car length apart as they cross the line. 5 minutes to go, so that means we will have this lap and one more for the McLarens, but it's all going to be governed by where the race leader is, don't forget, who has just crossed the line now, Artur Rodgert. So I reckon, yes, this lap that Artur's just begun and one after that.
So the McLarens will probably be one of the last cars over the line. That's amazing in this battle for the GT3 win. And coming into the Dunlop chicane, Patterson had to shut the door hard. Simonauer had taken 0.2 of a second out of him on the previous lap and was right on his gearbox, right on the tailpipe coming into Dunlop, and Patterson had to go defensive. So Simonauer is just cranking on the pressure onto the Australian right now.
Back straight, two McLarens. Can't separate them. Is anything likely to change elsewhere for the GT3 podium? Not at the moment, although Matteo Cressoni is right with Steve Jansen now down the inside. Jean-Baptiste Simonauer had a little think. He parked his car in the middle of the road, and Garnet Patterson had to react to semi-disfend into the Daytona chicane. So he jumped a lane to the right and prevented Simonauer from braking that little bit late and block passing the equivalent car that he is racing. He's got another opportunity though now to try and pick up the toe, but the toe's not really in that much effect because he's racing exactly the same type of car. It's got all the advantages that he's got.
In LMGT3 form, the McLaren, the fastest average time they've been through in practice, 290 kilometers an hour, not quite on the pace of the Astons in LMGT3, but slightly different here with the GT3 specification. But there's been nothing wrong with the pace of these McLarens in GT3. And can Simonauer now in the Gulf car, can he put the heat on here? He is really cranking on the pressure. They come over the crest and now down towards Mulsanne. Patterson has to go defensive there to cover off the move. Simonauer is going to try and go again, and now for the cutback as Patterson runs onto the gravelly part as well. Is that going to give Simonauer a good exit as they run towards Indianapolis?
He tried to hang back a little bit, did Simonauer, so that then he took the wide approach into Mulsanne. That meant that he might have been able to get on the loud pedal a tad earlier than the Australian. In the end, it was about even Stevens. They've also got a gravel trap now, which is slowly working its way out onto the racetrack, a point that you've already made. Will they be two abreast into Indianapolis? Please don't make contact here.
I think they did.
And down the inside will go Simonauer. Surely that's the place now, as Garnet Patterson tries to block him off. They were absolutely level pegging going into the second bit of Indianapolis, and the confusing matter now is that there are three LMP3s all being held up by this scrap. If one of them goes by Simonauer, that might then make the opening on Garnet Patterson's car for Jean-Baptiste, but he doesn't want to give up any road position. That was really close.
What a thrilling finale. They definitely rubbed ever so slightly as they came through Indianapolis 1. Talking there in a GT3 car, 175 miles an hour. Imagine that, and you just make that little bit of contact. They hold on though, and Patterson had to get really, really defensive very, very quickly as they braked down to 70 miles an hour. And I mean, Simonauer was absolutely up over the curb and almost inside the curb to the point where you think, track limits. Wow, they're going all in here. I mean, a win at Le Mans, it's win or nothing. Here comes Simonauer at the last sector.
Patterson throwing his car into the Ford chicane, almost backing it in. Now behind them, the race leader. So this is effectively the last lap board. There isn't one, but the 12 car now gets the last lap board. And the other thing is, if the 12 is able to get by Simonauer, that separates the GT3 battle in one fell swoop. So Jean-Baptiste Simonauer cannot afford to allow the 12 car through, because Patterson will be doing his level best then to block off car 12 to prevent the chasing McLaren from getting the extra lap.
And Simonauer wants that extra lap to try and break the stronghold that Garnet Patterson has on this lead, but I suspect the speed of the leader of Arthur Rogiani is going to go through. On the straight line, they have an ever so slight advantage to LMP3, and then on braking, it's an interesting one, because you've got more downforce, much more downforce in the P3 car, but no ABS, so it's a bit of give and take. The GT3, a well-driven GT3 car, difficult to separate them as well. I think Simonauer is going to get separated here from Patterson. He's going to the defensive. He's actually trying to hold off a car in another class.
Yeah, because as soon as Artur Rodgen gets in front, if they were to finish in this order, Garnet Patterson would get another lap, whereas Jean-Baptiste Simonauer would not, and that's going to decide it. So Garnet Patterson, surely he's going to be swallowed up by Artur Rodgen on the run down to the second chicane now. The blue LMP2 car, which is tucked in behind the second of the McLarens, is not on the lead lap. So Artur Rodgen's not under a huge amount of pressure himself. He's talking 16 seconds. Now, this is dream scenario for Jean-Baptiste Simonauer, because it looks like the overall race leader will indeed be able to lap Garnet Patterson. He does that before the second chicane. So this will be the final lap now for the McLarens. That is confirmed as well. And Jean-Baptiste Simonauer is running out of opportunities. I reckon his best is down at Mulsanne corner. So what has he got up his sleeve? That corner is coming up.
And if you're Simonauer, you are screaming in your helmet right now to the driver of the number 29 Forestier car, which is a lap down, saying, back off, what are you fighting for? Leave us alone, we're battling for an LMGT3. When here comes Simonauer, he's going to take his chance up the inside of Mulsanne, they touch. But Simonauer doesn't quite get the move done and rolls across to defend with the LMP3, and it's a crash. They're both out. Simonauer goes through. Simonauer goes through, and the United car has been taken out.
My word, Jean-Baptiste Simonauer almost was close to being involved with that himself, but Garnet Patterson is out. The backmarking LMP3 was involved as well, and they were three abreast leaving Mulsanne corner. Now, is Jean-Baptiste Simonauer carrying any damage whatsoever? It's the 29 LMP3 car that has got hooked up in that, and we may even have to apportion blame to the Forestier Racing by VPS. It was so difficult to tell from that angle as to who was at fault, but it was always going to come to a head. This was the final lap after Artur Rodgen got ahead of the two McLarens, and it has been decided a number of corners from home, as it turns out. Absolute heartbreak then for Garnet Patterson in the number 95 car that he shares with Michael Berg. Here comes Jean-Baptiste Simonauer, but of course that incident is going to be looked at exiting Mulsanne corner as to whether Jean-Baptiste Simonauer was at fault in any way. So I think the GT3 result is going to be very provisional indeed. Meantime, we're waiting for Artur Rodgen in car number 12 to finish this race, to win the race with August Reber. He is moments away from the Ford chicane, and the checkered flag is about to be displayed. The focus appears to be on car number 85 for some reason. I'm not quite sure why that was the case, but there is Artur Rodgen. He gets the checkered flag then to win the first ever 3-hour Road to Le Mans race. Jean-Baptiste Simonauer finishes as the class winner on the road. But as I say, they're going to look at that incident several times over at Mulsanne corner. Valentin Haas-Clos finds himself into second place, just 3.4 seconds away from the Simonauer McLaren. And Giacomo Alto, well, he'll finish third, but his pit stop was questionable at 2 minutes and 54 seconds. They were a second short.
Antonio Garcia, Le Mans legend, in the garage with Campos Racing. Actually, as much of a smile as you ever see on Antonio's face. He's clearly delighted. So, coming into Mulsanne then, up the inside went Simonauer. The race leader was on the outside, showed a nose, touched Patterson, then touched him again. Patterson's clear of the corner, then Simonauer goes to defend, and Patterson gets it all wrong on the gravel and then over towards the LMP3 car, which I agree with you, John, it should have been nowhere near that scenario.
But my fear is there was a touch from Simonauer on the back of Garnet Patterson. Now, he'll say I was being squeezed by the 29 LMP3 car. There's a lot to unpick there in that situation, and thankfully we don't have to do it. That'll be race direction and the stewards. Let's get straight to Joe Bradley for reaction.
Yeah, reaction not just from me, Johnny, but we've got, we're live, mate. Gonzalo, that was quite a dramatic race.
Yes, dramatic. I think it's a not better final with the crash of car of United, but it's the race, and I think it's a very good win for the team.
It was an excellent win and great pit strategy too.
Yes, very strategy.
Muy bien. In fact, estupendo. Yes, and a very happy Gonzalo here. Well done, guys.
Yes.
Gonzalo de Andres Martin, who shares the number 77 McLaren, SMC Motorsport McLaren, with Jean-Baptiste Simonauer, LMP3 Pro-Am. The winner's gone to car number 78 of Wayne Boyd and of Dan Goldberg. Now, bear in mind, at the end of the qualifying session, they were 15th of 15 cars. They couldn't get a representative lap time in. In fact, their quickest was only a 4 minutes 37, where, bear in mind, the pole time was a 3 minutes 50. So they have come from the back of the field to the front in LMP3 Pro-Am to win it. And as you say, the grin from Tonio Garcia. I've seen that a few times out of the car, but when he puts the helmet on, he's such a mean racer behind the wheel of a Corvette. But obviously of Spain originally, so in the Campos crew as a result of that. To Nick Damon at the other end of the pit lane with this pit lane report informed by Driver Database.
With our winner, the co-driver of the number 12 car. What a fantastic performance, August.
Yeah, really, really good. Really happy with it. Very stressful at the end there on the last lap with the two GT cars battling in front of Arthur, but he did a great job, great pace throughout the race, and so happy for the whole team.
It looked very chaotic out there the whole time. It seemed there's something always happening, bits falling off cars, people hitting each other. Was it as hectic as it seemed?
Yeah, there was a lot of things to manage in the car. I mean, with 50-something cars on the track, it's always going to be like that, and Le Mans brings a lot of action. There was a lot of slow zones, so full course yellows, safety cars. You have to be really aware in the car, but yeah, we did a great job as a team.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
August Weber out the number 12 car.
P-Mac, you've had a few more opportunities to witness the incident coming out of Mulsanne. It's a pincer movement with the 29 LMP3 car. You're right that Garnet Patterson was having a little bit of a moment, but there'd been a touch from Simonauer to Patterson's car, the two McLarens connecting anyway, which forced Patterson wide. Then as he rejoins, Simonauer is alongside him, but he gets squeezed from the left and from the right from the 29 LMP3 car. I did wonder whether Simonauer had just been hustling a bit too much and the contact had caused the spin, but I actually don't think he had anywhere to go. You don't expect him to get off the throttle.
It would be really difficult for me personally to come up with a scenario there where you could say that was all Simonauer's fault. And if you can't do that, I don't think you can give him a penalty, to be honest.
Fair point.
And we talked about how much gravel was coming up at Mulsanne. And that has played a huge factor in the outcome of this race. Because as soon as both of those McLaren drivers asked for the power from that 4-litre turbocharged V8, the rears just lit up. It's gravel everywhere. It's like a rabbit. I said that. It's like Barham Rally. It's just gravel all over the road. But you also have to say that the 29 LMP3 car, and I know everyone's in their own race, but Roy Mujas was not fighting for any position, was on the last lap, was a lap down, so should really be thinking about just getting the car to the finish. And in the end, he ends up in the barrier and takes the race leader in another category with him.
Really dramatic finish, and even though things were more or less settled in LMP3 and Pro-Am to a degree, the GT3 fight, even before it became just two McLarens, we had the Valentin Haas-Clos Aston Martin involved. Who else was there? Steve Jantz to a certain extent as well, and Matteo Cressoni. Now, Giacomo Alto, his car, I've noted, has dropped to 5th place, and I think that is as a result of that pit stop that was too short. So it means that pit stop has dropped the car to 5th place and elevated Steve Jantz and Anthony Bartone to 3rd position. Let's get reaction, though, from LMP3 Pro-Am. Here's Nick.
with Dan Goldberg, obviously teammates of Wayne Boyd. A great performance. You finished first on the road.
We did, yes. It's my first time here at Le Mans, and pretty happy with where we sit right now.
Absolutely chaotic race, though.
Yeah, my job was just to keep it clean. I started last. I came in about 4th or 5th, and really my whole thing was just avoid all of the chaos.
You say that, but the chaos often comes to you. How easy is it to avoid chaos but still keep up a reasonable pace?
I have a fair amount of experience. It's kind of the name of the game in some of the IMSA races too, like Daytona 24 or Sebring 12 Hour. So just got to be smart, really look ahead, watch what's going on, anticipate a little bit of what's going on out there, and play it safe.
Great stuff, thank you. That's Dan Goldberg out of the 20 car. Winners on the road, though there was a lot of conversation between Dan and a couple of the team members about a potential issue with that. They may have a penalty to apply. So we'll see what happens in the next 3 hours before they award the trophies, Johnny, but that one's definitely not assured.
Yeah, well, that's possibly one of the reasons why the podium has been scheduled for 4 o'clock this afternoon, so that all of the discussions can be had in race control and the various arguments put forward. I will say that we've already gone through the phase where Alcamel kind of greys out the non-finishers, and the reordering of cars is done with respect to penalties that can't be served in the race. So as I said, the Giacomo Alto Kessel Racing Ferrari will drop to 5th position because of that pit stop that was too short. So LMP3, the podium finishes as things stand: Brutal Fish by Campos car number 12, the 20 high class racing car, and the number 19 Brutal Fish by Campos car. Remember, they were 1 and 2 not on the grid. They were 1st and 4th on the grid, but did run 1st and 2nd for a fair bit of that race. So they've managed to get a 1st and a 3rd place finish by the end of it. M Racing's LMP3 car, we just heard from one of its drivers, Daniel Goldberg, joined by Wayne Boyd. They were miles ahead of any of their nearest rivals, 1 minute and 38 seconds to be exact. But clearly that is all being checked as well. Julien Henrion finishing in 2nd position for Motorsport 98 with his teammate Eric de Donker of Belgium, and Kenton Antonel in the number 3 DKR engineering car with Antti Ramo, the team from Luxembourg, finishing in 3rd. And it's GT3 where there was all change, because Jean-Baptiste Simonard, who'd been 2nd for a long time in the SMC Motorsport McLaren with Gonzalo de Andres, end up winning the race for the time being. 3.4 seconds clear of Valentin Haskell and Philippe Saga in the number 10 Aston Martin. Steve Jans and Anthony Bartone in the number 14 Get Speed car will be completing the podium. By the way, after this show on 91.2 FM, of course, we will stay broadcasting throughout Friday here at the 94th edition of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. We've got a walk around at the new manufacturer on the block in hypercar, Genesis. Then Ted Ryan. And then we have a Historic Racing News Le Mans special, together with the interview with Johnny Molan that John Hindhaugh did, because Johnny can't be part of our team this year, desperate to be with us again in 2027. But Johnny Molan's interview with John Hindhaugh can be heard as well. And we're warming up, of course, to the 24 Hours of Le Mans, with the next Le Mans session being warm-up, and we will be on air at 5 to 11 for that tomorrow. 5 to 12, should I say, for that tomorrow. I'm still catching my breath, frankly, PMAC, because there was a lot to digest in that, and really I'm talking about the first half an hour. I'm still trying to process that.
Where to begin? Well worth coming in for that one. Wow, what a motor race in terms of, you're right, the cerebral, strategical aspect of the first couple of hours or first hour and a half, and then just the sheer dogfight between those two McLarens.
Yeah.
That is what we follow, what we love motor racing for, when it goes down to the wire, and there are winners and there are losers, and that's what makes it so exciting to follow. We had no idea how that was going to play out, if Garnet Patterson could have held off the Golf car of Jean-Baptiste Simonard, but it just superb. And actually, one thing we should note, that United car was pointing the wrong way on lap 1, was part of the initial melee, so did very well to be up there in the mix at the end, I'm sure they'll be really disappointed. I mean, to not even get a finish, of course, the car too damaged to carry on. But you've got to say, though, that the Gulf McLaren guys, Jean-Baptiste Simoneur, and the team, they really, really deserve that win, I would say. And because they're the McLaren Barcelona team, enhorabuena.
Well done. I like your style with that. What do you think of this new format? First time the 3-hour race has occurred. I think it will continue for the next few years for sure. The thing I like about it is, the element of the Michelin Le Mans Cup through the rest of the year is an endurance and strategic race. And for the period of time we were doing 2 one-hour races, that element of strategy was kind of not there, because often, actually, half the race, 2/3 of the race will be held under a safety car anyway. There's a bit more wiggle room now.
I like it, yeah. I think it's much more indicative of what the teams, the drivers, the strategists, etc., will experience in the future, whether they go into the European Le Mans Series or whether they go all the way to the World Endurance Championship. Having a 75-minute minimum drive time, you've got time to do that with a 3-hour race, and I think that's important, again, because in each of these cars, either one of or both of the drivers are putting in a serious amount of investment to come and race at Le Mans, and therefore
this program is a Radio Show Limited production.
Quite right. I missed the last bit that you said, but I was agreeing with all the rest of it. So that, I think, is a good way to proceed for sure. And, yeah, it sits nicely in that one of the European Le Mans Series races is not visited by the Le Mans Cup crews. So that means the next time that ELMS is in action at Imola, the Le Mans Cup cars will sit that one out because, of course, they've been here instead. And I'd love to also see how that has potentially changed the championship, because RAce GP, the number 85 car, had been leading. They still scored 5th place points, but their brutal fish by Campos rivals will be right with them now, because after 38 laps, the winning car gets 38 points, just like the increased amount of points for a longer distance World Endurance Championship race. So plenty of action to come for the rest of the weekend. As I say, there's lots of content coming your way on 91.2 FM Radio Le Mans as well, live from the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre. We don't have a support race to bring you in the morning, but we do have warm-up, of course, for the main cars, together with our full build-up for the 94th edition of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. My thanks to all of our pit lane reporters throughout that first 3-hour race for Road to Le Mans, bringing us the pit lane updates informed by driver database. So to Neil Cole, to Nick Damon, and to Joe Bradley. Thanks to Kerry Cobb in London as well, keeping us on the air. To Peter Mackay, keeping me well informed as well. I'm Johnny Palmer. That was the Road to Le Mans for the first time over 3 hours. And we will join you again for the main cars for tomorrow morning's warm-up. But before that, we have the Genesis walk-around right here on 91.2 FM Radio Le Mans.
This program is a Radio Show Limited production.
Tell your friends there's more at radiolemans.com.
On 91.2 FM and around the world at radiolemans.com. This is Radio Le Mans.
The unmistakable sound of flat 6 engines with de la Sarthe Le Mans 24 Hours. But I'm not here in the pit lane to talk about Porsche. I'm here to talk about a debutante at the Grand Prix d'Endurance, Genesis, with Genesis Magma GMR 001, and the man who I think we can rightly call maybe the father of Genesis, the creator of Genesis, stands alongside me now. Luc Donker-Volker, the Chief Creative Officer for Genesis, Hyundai, Kia. Luc, first of all, thank you for taking time out of what I'm sure is a very busy week for you. Before we talk about the design, the concept of your LMH car, you're at Le Mans with Genesis. How does that feel?
Oh, it's incredible. I always have the feeling I'm dreaming. You know, it's kind of like I'm telling everybody I cannot believe we are here after such a short stint from to Le Mans. It feels unreal.
This is what you dreamed of since you were a small boy, literally, when you started becoming interested in cars and motorsport. It was Le Mans, it was the Michel Vaillant graphic novels, I suppose we would call them now, that got you into this.
Yes, actually, I must say I was not daring to dream about it because I was a bit worried that it would never happen. And you know, it's the kind of thing, that illusion you have, the kind of, but you believe it's not going to happen. Now we are here, and it feels incredible,
and it's real. Touch. It is real. I promise you aren't dreaming. So tell me about the concept of this LMH car. It's based on the Oreca chassis, the Oreca spine. So that side of things, you had a known quantity. Everything else was a clean sheet of paper, a clean computer screen, or do you still sketch?
I sketch all the time. You know, this is the way I communicate to my brain as well, you know, between my hand and my brain. No, it is, you know, you have to realize there's the car, but there's everything around. It's even the logo of Genesis Magma Racing, even the name, which had to be done. And so I'm actually incredibly stunned to see the name that I gave to this team, the logo that we created, the car that we did, using obviously the Oreca chassis, but giving it the DNA of Genesis without compromising any performance. It had to be neutral or facilitating performance. Never at the cost of performance.
So the car itself, then, the motor power unit is a V8. The company and the motorsport side of under Genesis Kia understood the four-cylinder engine, understood what was going in the internals there, so it made sense to start there.
Yes, you know, for me, I'm really surprised by the choice of Cyril. I mean, we had the decision. He suddenly had to create the car, he had to create the team, he had to create an engine, and the fact to have chosen something internal and not going to purchase it outside, because the heart had to be Genesis. It had to have all DNA inside, to have an engine based on one of our rally blocks is incredible. So it started with the engine, but everything went in parallel, as we had no time to wait for the others. So the design had to be of the body, the aero of the body had to be done at the same time that the engine was being built.
Wow. So let's have a look at the guys who are working. I don't want to get in the way, but we talk about the difference between doing something. We talk about doing something on card or on paper, and then the installation is super important. Because what happens on the computer screen when you take it out and run it at Paul Ricard or wherever, the heat, you can simulate some of that. How much has had to change from that first concept that we saw in Dubai 500 days before you rolled out in Italy?
Actually, we were really surprised that we didn't have to change the concept. We had to fine-tune. We had to improve the ducts, the cooling, the outlets. We had also some worries about the stylistic choice that we had with double lines in the rear that were having an intermediate wing plan. We had to prove that stylistic element was not going to have a positive effect because it would have not been allowed. So all those, but it's basically the same concept, like the integrated rearview mirrors as well. You don't see them. They caused an issue because we integrate the rearview mirrors to the front fenders, which does not allow for the differentiation between the cars. Normally, you have those wing mirrors in a different color in order to differentiate car 1 from car 2. Yes. Here we had a discussion because we cannot put them in a different color because you don't see them from the front. So this stylistic choice, which is a narrow choice, was creating an issue for the differentiation between the two cars.
And so how do you differentiate? Is it a different screen band or is it something else?
Yes, we have the screen band, we have the canard plans on the front, we have the writing. On one car you will have all the Genesis writing in orange, on the other car it's going to be in white. So basically we have the white as differentiator between one car and the other.
Okay, so if you're trackside, the Genesis in orange is the 17 car, the white is the 19 car. Thank you for doing that, because as a commentator that helps me. We'll move back inside if we can. The cockpit. Now the cockpit is highly important for the comfort and the longevity, the endurance of the driver, but it's also one of the places that is most heavily regulated. How did you get on with that, working with such tight confines of space, but also of the mandatory recommendations in terms of still providing some kind of Genesis DNA?
In the cockpit, we always say less design is more. So you basically do not want any design input to be counterproductive. Everything has to be clear, everything has to be clean, everything has to be very simple, so that there is no complication for the driver. So that is the most important thing. So we always have to measure every single thing, so you don't make the access, the egress and the entrance of the car worse. You have to make sure that the driver does not have an element which disturbs him, disturbs the viewing point, the perspective. He's already in a chassis with a big, thick A-pillar for safety.
Again, mandated.
Exactly. So he has already a limited viewing perspective. So everything else has to be as restrained as possible. And then this is basically the goal. Is again, do not try anything that would go against the driver's performance.
How involved have you and the design team been in all of these aspects of the GMR 001?
We have basically checked with our engineers all aspects. So we look at everything, and in this case it is more of an on-demand job. So we are reacting to the demands of the engineers, saying we need an input there, we need an input there, rather than starting with sketches of the interior like a production car. It's a completely different situation. We basically respond to the demands.
I know you still do a bit of competition driving. I've still got my competition license. I have to say, this car is not built for people like you and I to get into.
Absolutely not. And I have a big admiration for the racers, because I mean, when I talk to them, they say, "Oh, it's okay, it's not bad." I'm really in admiration for them, because it is an incredible tight workplace, and they got used to the fact of not being able to see the apex or the wheel, and this is incredible.
Let's move round the back again, as the Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil are still running round. This is the first time I've seen this car with the bodywork off, and what strikes me straight away is how low and how compact that engine installation is. That clearly has some engineering and setup advantages. You want the centre of gravity, the C of G, down as low as possible. How easy or difficult is it to hit the performance window in terms of downforce and drag? All of the LMHs had to be re-homologated at the end of last year, and this car, like everybody else, went to wind shear in Carolina and in the US. I can see the torque sensors there, which we don't normally get to see on the drive shaft. This is great for me. So how much freedom is there when designing the bodywork and indeed the major components to stay within the regulations?
Well, there's not much. I mean, you have to basically go into it's all almost like fine-tuning and making every single component as light as possible, and allowing, most important, access to all the components. If you look at the brackets, which have been done by 3D printing metal, this is such a performance. This is actually new, the new design.
So this is a bracket that's up from the side of the cylinder head that holds on basically the turbocharger installation.
Exactly. And if you look at them, This is not conventional data surfacing anymore. This is basically 3D printing done on optimizing with biomorphing the metal, so that you can optimize the strength, but as well the weight of those components. And
so is that solid metal, or is it sort of a honeycomb underneath?
No, this is printed metal. Wow. And 3D printed metal, and it allows, as you see, to have as much access as possible around it. Because in a car like this, every single component has to be as minimal as possible, so that you're not on the way to a mounting point or to a fixation point.
And where it is right next to the coil packs. Exactly. On the top of the cylinder head, so you have to be able to get into those. They come off with one Allen bolt for ease if a coil pack goes